Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
and faith. Join us this week for The God-Centered Life with Josh Moody.
Listen weeknights at its new time of 7 p.m. Also Sundays at 9 a.m. here on Moody Radio Cleveland.
We ourselves, we're changing, we're declining. Our world is changing and will not last. But against that rather depressing backdrop, the psalmist proclaims the glorious truth that God himself never changes.
Here's Jonathan Griffiths with today's Moment of Truth.
The Lord is the unchanging one. All else will change and decay, much else will disappear, but the eternal God does not and will not. It's the sentiment that the hymn writer captures so well. We blossom and flourish like leaves on a tree, then wither and perish, but naught changeth thee. It's a truth that the Bible affirms again and again, not least in Psalm 102, but we find it elsewhere all over the place. Malachi 3 and verse 6. I, the Lord, do not change. So you, O descendants of Jacob, despite all your sin, despite all your unfaithfulness, despite all your rebellion, so you, O descendants of Jacob, are not destroyed. James chapter 1 and verse 17. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. Or Hebrews 13 and verse 8. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. In fact, as we think about it, the very name by which God introduces himself to Moses, the great covenant name of God, the name I am, it carries within it, doesn't it, the truth that God never changes. He is the one who was and is to come, always the same, simply the great I am.
This has been today's Moment of Truth. To learn more, visit encounterthetruth.org.
Serving Erie, Huron, and Lake counties and beyond. This is Moody Radio Cleveland, WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVME Meadville, WVMN Newcastle, WVMU Ashtabula, or stream us anywhere with the Moody Radio app, other streaming services, and at moodyradio.org/Cleveland. Headline News.
Trade conflict deepens with China, that country now enacting tariffs on U.S. products in retaliation for tariffs from President Trump. Beijing announcing overnight it will charge extra tariffs of 15% on U.S. coal and liquefied natural gas, along with 10% on crude oil, farm equipment, and some cars starting February 10th. President Trump announcing tariffs on Mexico are being delayed for 1 month following a conversation with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum early Monday.
We've agreed to talk and consider various other things. We haven't agreed on tariffs yet, and maybe we will, maybe we won't.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is meeting with President Trump at the White House today. He'll be the first foreign leader to meet with Trump in his second term. Netanyahu is in D.C. as negotiations are expected to resume between Israel and the Palestinian militant group Hamas to extend the ongoing ceasefire. It's good news when it comes to President Trump and the economy, John Schaefer explains.
A recent Gallup poll shows Americans were optimistic about the economy before President Trump's inauguration, with over 50% expecting economic growth in the first half of this year. Another poll from the New York Times and Ipsos revealed that 45% of Americans believe Trump's policies will benefit the national economy.
A rainbow banner promoting inclusivity at First Congregational Church in downtown Colorado Springs has been torn down for the fourth time in 6 months. The banner reading, "A Just World for All," has been repeatedly targeted, and church officials are working with police while exploring security measures. Though historical site restrictions hinder camera installation, church leaders say they will not be discouraged and plan to replace the banner again. The church said it remains committed to its message. I'm Ryan Daniels reporting.
It's 6:02 and news continues on Moody Radio Cleveland. 2 highway ramps will close in Akron as part of the Beltway construction project. Northbound I-77 to eastbound I-76 will be blocked off. That detour will go westbound 76 to Maine, back to eastbound 76. Big loop, U-turn basically. Now, southbound State Route 8 to eastbound I-76 will also be closed. Their detour will be westbound 76 to Main Street to eastbound 76. These closures run 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. through Friday. In sports, the Browns' Myles Garrett requested a trade yesterday. The 29-year-old said in a statement that he loved calling Cleveland his home, but has a desire to win and compete on the biggest stages. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Mostly cloudy this morning, then becoming partly sunny, much cooler with our highs in the upper 20s. Little different from yesterday, right? At last check, cloudy skies, 31 degrees in Cleveland, 31 Akron and Canton, light snow and 32 in Youngstown.
It's time for your moron moment.
Only 67% of 8th graders are reading at a basic level. That's the lowest since federal testing began in 1992. 4th graders are doing even worse at 60%. They were kindergartners when the pandemic hit in 2020. Probably not a coincidence. And that's your Moron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 6:03. With Moody Radio News, I'm Ron Eastwood.
Broadcasting live from the Bob Divine Studio. It's Mornings with Brian. Want to join the conversation? Call or text now at 440-546-2255. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Good morning. I sure enjoyed spring yesterday.
Spring? It felt like summer.
Yeah, it was. I think by me it was like 55 was when I looked at my car.
It was about that. I was wearing a short sleeve shirt and I took my coat off and I walked. I had an appointment. I walked in without my coat on. I'm like, this is great.
Look at you.
It's fool's spring.
Well, it's not anymore. That was yesterday.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
Yeah.
Today is just winter, second winter.
I was like kind of mad at our animals. I got home when it's really snowy out and you can't see any grass. They just stay in the barn and look sad. And I'm like, fine, okay, I get it. I would too. They were just lazy still in the barn yesterday. It's like they knew it was full spring. They're like, we're not going to tease ourselves out here with all this grass. So whatever, it's their loss. And then I had one of the greater emotional letdowns of my life yesterday. That's melodramatic.
Wow.
Whoa.
But it was, I had a big letdown, right? So I don't know if I told you, I think I had mentioned on the air yesterday, I got notification in the mailbox of a certified letter.
Oh yeah. It wasn't from the Army?
So have you guys ever gotten one of those where you have to sign to get a letter?
No.
Yeah. You've got
that important.
Yeah.
and I think we covered this, but what was yours for?
I don't remember exactly, but it was either a government or a bank thing.
Yeah, and I, of course, for those who missed it, I got one of these notifications in my mailbox in one of the few moments that my family wasn't home. No one could sign for it. So it was Saturday, couldn't go Sunday. And I was all crabby, like, great. This was going to be a note from my daughter. I Googled, like, do you get a certified letter from the military when your child is at boot camp? And like, I'm Googling things like this because why do you get one of these? Unless I'm being sued or something, right? I was like, wow, what is this, summons? Am I in trouble? But Sarah and I were convinced ourselves, we've never gotten one. It's got to be like the base commander. And Sarah had even rationalized, very wisely, I thought. They've probably heard from angsty parents, like, I never got a letter about my kid. They're like, oh, yes, you did. Oh, no, you didn't. Well, how do you prove it? Certified letter. Yep. Oh, it says right here you signed for it, right? So I organized my life yesterday. I get home. Sarah knew I wanted to go get it myself, drive to the post office in town. How often do we do that anymore? So I drive to the post office, go up, try to open the door. It's 12:45. They're closed for lunch from 12 to 1.
Oh, my goodness.
When is your post office open?
Sit in the car.
Okay. So I was going to sit in the car. I'm like, no, I'm going to be efficient, run some errands, go back. Super nice post office worker. She's amazing. She comes, opens the door right as I get there, exactly at 1.
They've been watching you.
Yeah.
They know you want this.
And so I'm like, hey, how's it going? She's like, oh, it's great. No, you perfect timing. I'm like, just picking up. Oh, a certified letter. She sees the thing in my hand. Yeah, daughter's at boot camp. Pretty sure it's hearing from the base commander. Blah, blah, blah. She goes, oh, that'd be great. I'd love to get past that to you. She walks over in the back and goes, uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
It's not that. It was a certified letter from the township zoning committee or something.
What?
And it was, a thing that I want to know about, I guess. There's an adjacent property, wants to build within the easement, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, okay.
But, in the suburbs, when you have like quarter of an acre, that's a big deal. We have 5.5. I have to I'm sure it's fine. But it was like,
I didn't want this.
What? Why did you send this certified?
I want to feel bad for you, but you made up that it was the base commander in your head so deeply.
I don't blame him though.
But it was so deep.
Entire story.
Yes, with not one shred of evidence.
Like, I feel like in my mind, I don't even know what rank the base commander is, but I could kind of picture them like licking an envelope and like,
yes.
Get this out. We've got Grace here.
Handwritten, Dear Dolan family.
His father is concerned. I order you private. Get out
and
there.
You and Sarah well, there's other parents that are like, there's infighting between the parents. You have heard, you haven't heard.
Yeah. It was like totally fabricated.
A totally made up story in your own mind.
That's how much I miss my daughter.
Hey, just last week we were talking about having fun with your spouse and making up stories. You guys did that.
There you go.
Oh
we didn't think we were, though.
You thought it was real.
Like, my wife has some similarities in disposition to you, Lauren, in that, like, you don't get you're not excitable.
Yeah, not
Sarah
really.
is not excitable. So I got home and I'm like, hey. She's like, you're here. All right, bring it in. I was like, uh-oh, you're not going to like this. She goes, what? She was like super disappointed. I was a little startled. Like, when does this happen?
She misses her daughter too.
I know.
Yeah, and you've had 2 days of building up this story.
That is so sad.
Pretty creative story.
It is very good.
I kind of want to send you guys certified mail on the weekend just to have you go through my drama. Although you know it's me. It's like,
Yeah, and I don't have a child in boot camp.
Yeah,
I don't
and
have
we can
much
wait
money.
a couple of days to find out. We don't need to, Google and search
Yeah, he
and everything.
Googled.
What could it possibly be?
Does
I have
the
no
base
evidence.
commander send letters?
yeah, yes. Now, a certified package, you get it. Like someone sends you something valuable, they want to make sure it arrives.
Right.
You get the insurance on it, like letter. I'm like, what? So it even had these crazy, thick green, like almost cardboard paper around the envelope.
Mm-hmm.
Ron's like, yep, classified.
Certified
That's
thing.
what you paid for.
Yeah.
Never got it in my life, probably never will again.
And for the township's protection, that's why they do that.
Yeah.
Because the guy is requesting to be closer than the laws allow.
Uh-huh.
And so you have to sign off on it.
Well, not necessarily. Like it would highly recommend that neighbors attend. It's like, I'm not required to be there.
I got one of those once.
Did you? What'd you do?
I was like, sure, you can do whatever you want. I don't care. It's your house. If you want to be an inch closer to the street, that's on you. I didn't go, obviously.
Was it Cuyahoga Falls place?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh.
The person caddy corner from us wanted to do something. I don't know what they wanted to do. Don't remember.
Total side note. I grew up saying kitty corner.
Yeah, I know. It's a very debated topic.
It's catty corner.
I think kitty corner too.
Interesting. Okay, so we have Southern Ohio, which we know is weird.
It's I'm from Columbus. That is not Southern Ohio.
You're from Columbus. We know it's weird there. Hello. Come on. You guys probably say, like in Milwaukee, a drinking fountain is a bubbler.
No, we don't.
That's messed up.
Yeah, it is.
Who says that?
I've seen that, but I don't say it.
Come on, Milwaukee.
Tell you
What's
who
going
actually
on?
does say things weird is people from actual Southern Ohio.
What do they say?
My grandma would say it wasn't yellow, it was yella. It was winder.
Mm-hmm. Winder's my favorite. Go pull up the winder. But I guess what? And you grew up everywhere. So where did you get your mom's a Southern Belle?
Yes.
So it
Both of
must
my
be a
parents are from the
Southern.
South.
It's catty corner.
Maybe.
But really, Ron, when you grow up in Ohio, it's kitty corner.
Yeah. And I don't know why it's the opposite corner. Why we call it kitty or catty. We're not small felines or golf assistants.
It's not doggy corner or puppy corner. I don't know.
But those streets are called dogleg, you know?
They
it's
are,
like
yeah.
a street and then a little space and then the street continues.
Are they?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But circling all the way back, you did give blessing to your neighbor to
Correct.
do whatever they were going to do. Yeah.
By giving my blessing, it means I didn't show up, which means you can do whatever you want.
So they can say, we told her.
Yes, exactly.
And she didn't show up.
Yes.
Okay, well, got that all worked out. Turns out I really can write some good stories, apparently. You guys believe my story. Like this must be the military.
It made sense.
didn't.
Yeah.
Why did you say anything? You didn't want to burst my bubble?
Yes.
Right. You were so excited. If I would say, come on, Brian, it's going to be something from some government official or a bank.
Then I would have been scared, Ron, and you didn't want to scare me.
Right.
He knows you too well.
Because I ruminate. Ron, you're such a great friend.
Well, thank you.
Lied by omission.
You've got a friend in me. You should start singing to me, Ron.
It's been a long time since I've heard that. Do 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 do.
I didn't know you do the intro. It's great. Go ahead.
You've got a friend in me.
I do, yeah.
You got a friend in me.
I know now.
We know who the tall, lengthy cowboy is.
That's 6:17. We got more Mornings with Brian coming up.
Moody Radio is on the air thanks to the support of listeners and Hawkins Sales. They've been serving our region's electrical industry for over 40 years. More information about Hawkins Sales is at hawkinssales.com.
It's true. Even kids can experience temptation. Help your children understand what temptation is and how God gives them the power to resist it. With our February Today in the Word Family Study. Today in the Word Family Studies have age-appropriate discussion questions and activities that will help your children enjoy spending time in God's Word. To download your free copy of this month's family study, go to todayintheword.com/family. Spend time in God's Word together. todayintheword.com/family.
Moody Radio is on the air thanks to support from our listeners and businesses like Fellowship Home Loans. They'll talk about the numbers as well as your hopes, dreams, and the market's reality. Home is where the heart is. It's where families grow and where dreams are born. More information is at 800-804-7283. That's 800-804-SAVE or fellowshiphomeloans.com. Welcome home.
They say family knows you best. Here's Brian's older brother with a message for you.
At least my little brother was able to make a career out of talking non-stop.
It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
A teens community is on Snapchat or on TikTok. A teens community is on Snapchat or on TikTok. And so how would you go about like having both? Like I would want my child to have their community. I don't want them to feel left out. I want them to feel like they're connected. But also there is so much harm in social media. How can we have both?
Honestly, when you give your child Instagram, Snapchat, whatever it is you're going to give them in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, whenever you're going to do that, does that automatically, magically make them so happy and like so loved? I mean, it really, truly, if we're honest, it does the opposite, that all of a sudden now it opens up this whole world of like, oh my word, I thought I was good looking, but now I see like a gazillion people who are better looking than me. Is that trait of drama and pain and constantly measuring themselves, is that pain worth
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
.622. Can't wait to see you at the Walkworthy Men's Conference. This is Mornings with Brian, WCRF. It's coming up Saturday, March 1st, so we're less than a month away. Canton Baptist Temple. Ron and I are dusting off our couple of outfits that we have as we're thinking through it.
Yeah, do I wear my leather patched jacket again?
Yes. I think yes is the answer. And then you and I will be like, should I wear my dress shoes or my sneakers? Because I only have one dress shoe or two. I think I have two.
If I'm wearing dress shoes, I've got to have Dana tie them up for me before I go.
Oh, because of your thumb?
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure people understood that. Like, it's not like you, wife, come hither, tie mine shoes. No, you hurt your thumb really bad. So
yeah.
Still in a splint.
Yeah, but you're giving thumbs up a lot. You're positive.
Yeah.
You could wear Crocs.
I could. I do have
those.
Crocs.
I don't know if I want to hear our station manager's complaints all the time. He's so anti-Croc. It's
623,
really,
he can't hear.
It's a problem. Like his anti-Crocness is so intense.
Josh and I have something else in common.
Now,
Except that I bought him Crocs once.
When I go to a conference, should I wear Crocs with socks? Or because I would never do that normally, but
yeah, you got to wear them with socks.
Yeah, kind of a rule. Whatever you wear in your feet, we want to see you there, especially since the tickets are going quickly. So we'd like to have you partake in the entire day's events. It's been happening for over 30 years, and we know you know at least somebody has been, and we get great feedback on this thing. Join us, okay? Text WALK to 440-546-2255. Text WALK to 440-546-2255. All right, so to what extent do you all have experience with the hello? Hi, I'm Elder so-and-so, and I'm Elder so-and-so. Whether it's Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons, do you get that knock on the door where you are now?
I've actually never had that happen.
Haven't you ever?
Not once.
Not even down in Weirdo Columbus, huh?
No.
Wow.
I think I remember one time there was a group of, I can't remember if it was Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons going around. We saw them, and so we went inside and just ignored the door.
Yeah, when I was a kid, it was there was something culturally among Christians where it's like you got to do the door slam almost.
Oh.
Like, get out of here. So I was like, oh, geez, wow. I don't like that. Ron, you've probably you have enough years under your belt that you've had it happen a few times.
Yeah, I've had the Mormons. I've had Jehovah's Witness. I can remember years ago there was somebody from First Baptist in Medina that knew at that point we had moved into a new house that my mom and dad had built. And so they were aware of the new house and they came to invite us to church.
Oh, wow.
So it was, I was really appreciative. Yeah.
Okay. Lauren, I think you told me you had somebody come to your door and had kind of argued with you.
No, those were some Baptist friends from down the street.
Oh, I gotcha. Have you had Jehovah's Witnesses and
no Mormons? I have had Jehovah's Witnesses before.
So do you all have a back pocket strategy when you have a Mormon or Jehovah's Witness come to the door?
I don't think so. Maybe I should.
You don't even have a general philosophy? Like, I'm going to, engage or not engage? Do we have that decided?
I do talk to them. I tell them up front that I'm a Christian. I believe in Jesus Christ. And sometimes that will, like, by being aggressive in a sense like that, I mean, I'm not yelling at them, but I come right forward, then they usually sometimes will back off and say, well, great. I'm glad you know Jesus. We'll be on our way. But sometimes they're more, okay, well, did you know that, knowing Jesus is a good first step, but if you didn't have the seeing stones of Joseph Smith and all of, and start into their mythology, then we're going to go around a little bit. I try not to be argumentative, try to be more like, okay, I can't agree with that. No, we're going to have to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Things like that. It would be easy to just think, okay, I'm going to sit here and nod and they'll go away.
No.
They won't go away.
No.
So they won't go until you promise to come to their meetings. So, you have to nip it in the bud. Either like you, where you turn off the lights, lock the door, everybody be quiet.
My parents did that on Halloween and when they came to the door. So my parents.
Yeah. Or you have to be up front and say something to them. Or it's perfectly okay, in my opinion at least, to just say, you know what, I'd rather not talk about this. Thanks for stopping. Have a good day, and then back out.
That's perfectly fine. I don't think we have to every time that happens, engage in some way. You don't have a philosophy, Lauren. So what did you grow up with? What did your parents do?
I have no idea.
You weren't paying attention. You were playing with Barbies.
Yes.
Okay. But you and Eddie haven't. Does Eddie talk with him, your husband? Does he?
No.
You're both kind of like, bye.
He's not gonna. Yeah.
I had a season when I was first married where I was really into apologetics. And I had my first house years ago. So I was like, I got to have.
Season.
Yeah, I've got my first house. I got to be ready for this. And so I got a book. It's called Kingdom of the Cults, if you're familiar.
Yes.
Walter Martin.
And it's actually quite good. And it takes you through some things in there.
It's massive.
It's massive, but I mean, I didn't read the whole thing. I skimmed through the parts I needed, which was Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses. And I found that I was an epic failure with Jehovah's Witnesses. Like when they'd come to the door, I remember inviting them in. There was a couple of them. And I got into this awkward thing with the guy. He was getting really aggressive about, what was he talking? The theology of something about hell. And he was like, yeah, it is. I'm like, no, it's not. Yeah, it is. No, it's not. Yeah, it is. No, it's not. I was like this really like horrible thing. I couldn't. And part of it is that their translation has got some subtleties that are changed.
Right.
That are really, like, you got to know your stuff, okay? And so I just determined after that one, I'm like, this is not doing anyone any good, and I'm just going to be like polite but not invite them in. And then I had some sweet 18-year-old kids from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormon church, that I almost felt bad. Like, I was ready. And it's like they didn't even, like, the class they went to was, don't understand anything, guys. Just get out there and be nice and smile. Like, they didn't know anything. And I started, like, destroying them in like, kindly. I was nice, but
good.
I'd ask them
Kindly
questions
destroying
about.
them.
I'd ask them questions about. There's no archaeological evidence of Jewish civilization in the Americas. What do you say about that? Like, all the archaeology. Well, we just believe. Huh? And then, I mean, I had all these things I went through, and they were just like, well, we just believe. And that was equally as frustrating for different reasons. I ended up even, they came back. I don't know why they came back. Invited them in, and then they asked about praying together or something. I was like, sure, I'll do it. And I started like quoting Galatians 1 about adding to the scriptures. And guys, it was really, explain the look on your face, Lauren.
I'm just listening.
I don't do that anymore, but I don't know. I guess I'm most sad about a couple things, but it's primarily the naivete and the willingness to believe anything, no matter how ridiculous it seems. Like, what Mormons have done is take the incomprehensibility of God, the idea that God is big, and they made him so big that
you can't know him at all.
Can't know him at all. I don't know anything. I don't need to know anything. Whatever. I just believe it. That's how a guy like Joseph Smith can say, hey, these golden tablets, they were brought to me. You can't see them. I won't show them to you. And they were taken back. But I swear this was on it. I mean, what? Well, we just believe. Don't ask questions. And I think that there's something there for us as believers to dig into a little bit, and I want to in a minute, because there is this thing called the incomprehensibility of God. And I find a lot of Christians actually get frustrated when there's something unknowable about God they can't discover or get an answer to. And I want to get into that together a little bit, because we don't want to be like that. I don't want to be perceived by the world as the guy that blindly believes everything, no matter how ridiculous it might seem.
I saw that my righteousness could not save me, and I turned to God for mercy. I'm Darcy Herod, and this is Pause for Prayer. These words were written by farmer Nathan Cole, who paused his work to hear a traveling preacher. That preacher was George Whitefield, the evangelist whose sermons helped ignite the Great Awakening, a powerful revival that stirred thousands, transformed hearts, and shaped the spiritual foundation of our nation. Whitefield's message called people to turn from both sin and self-reliance, reminding them that salvation is a gift of God's mercy. Cole's realization is a truth we need to continue to realize today. Let's pause for prayer. Father, we come to you in humility, acknowledging that even our best efforts fall short of your perfect standard. In Isaiah 64:6, you remind us, all our righteous acts are like filthy rags. Forgive us for the pride we place in our abilities and achievements, believing they are what makes us worthy. Lord, we repent of our self-righteousness. How often are we sucked back into depending on our strengths instead of trusting fully in you? Philippians 3:9 reminds us that true righteousness comes through faith in Christ and not from anything we do. Help us to surrender completely to your mercy and place all our confidence in what Christ has accomplished for us. Teach us to see that the talents and blessings you've given us are opportunities to glorify you, not ourselves. Remind us of Galatians 6:14. May I never boast except in the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ. Father, help us to walk every single day with full dependence on you, always understanding, as Nathan Cole understood over 200 years ago, that we are saved by grace alone. May our lives point others to your mercy and truth. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Hey, I'm Brant Hansen, and it's obviously great to do nice things for people. That's what a lot of missions do, and some hope that someone will ask about Jesus. But this is what I love about Cure International Children's Hospitals. Not only are kids healed, Cure shares the gospel openly and clearly with everyone. It's what they do. It's exactly what Jesus told us to do, proclaim the kingdom and heal the sick. Find out more about Cure and what God is doing in the world. It is a beautiful thing. Cure.org/Moody. Cure.org/Moody.
Good morning, Cleveland. Thanks for choosing us to help you start your day. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Is there an age that you would recommend for parents for waiting for your kids to get social media or screens? So I guess the two, social media and screens.
You know, Bill Gates waited till his kids were 14 to give a phone, and he kind of knew something about phones.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve Jobs, when he was asked, how do your kids like the iPad? You know, he's like, oh, I don't let my kids use the iPad. So, you know, we should kind of take clues from these people of like, why did you do that?
I think it was the founder of Pinterest, or like one of the creators.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, my kids don't have social media.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
Can you imagine?
I'm like, you created this and your kids don't have it.
Right?
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
638, it's a big word, but God certainly is incomprehensible. The incomprehensibility of God is a thing. So, I mean, if someone's like, huh? How would you put it in your own words, what that concept is? Anybody?
God is just so holy and so mighty. We just literally, in our human understanding, don't have the ability to fully understand who he is or some of the intricacies of him.
Yeah, and he himself talks about it in the scriptures. So let me give you a couple examples. Psalm 145 is the one most often quoted about God's incomprehensibility. Just the first couple verses say, I will exalt you, my God the King. I will praise your name forever and ever. Every day I will praise you and extol your name forever and ever. Great is the Lord and most worthy of praise. His greatness no one can fathom.
Mm-hmm.
He's so great, nobody gets it, essentially. Another example, my favorite one, is from Isaiah 66:1. New International Version says, this is what the Lord says, heaven is my throne and the earth is my footstool. Where's the house you'll build for me? Where's my resting place? The New Living Translation version of it is, heaven is my throne and the earth is my footstool. Could you build me a temple as good as that? Could you build me such a resting place? Like he's so incomprehensibly great, he puts his feet up on the earth. I mean, the imagery of that to me goes, that's the one that like tipped the scale for me on his incomprehensibility. I don't know why, but that's the one that did it for me. Okay. Paul brings it up too. In Romans chapter 11, there's a portion of the end of chapter 11 called the doxology, where Paul writes, oh, the depth of the riches of the wisdom and knowledge of God, how unsearchable his judgments and his paths beyond tracing out. Who has known the mind of the Lord, or who has been his counselor? Who has ever given to God that God should repay them? For from him and through him and for him are all things. To him be the glory forever. Amen. So although I've found a lot of people in the Christian faith don't like God's incomprehensibility. Every week, Michael Rydelnik on our show gets a question from somebody who, God bless them, I think their intentions are good. They ask him something that you just can't know. I think one of them, Ron, years ago, it's like, so Noah was getting hungry, I bet, after a while. He's on the ark with the family. They got 2 of the animals. Like, what are they having for dinner? On day like 30 or whatever, or 40. And Michael's like, I don't know.
Yeah. He's not afraid to say, I don't know, which is better than trying to make up an answer, because your made up answer is going to have the ability to poke holes in it, and then you're worse off than when you started.
And that's one of the beautiful things about Michael. I know some people don't quite understand it, but his responses when he's like, I don't know, or no, he is fully comfortable with God's incomprehensibility.
Mm-hmm. True.
Yeah, it doesn't make him nervous or worried.
Yeah. How often, have you guys been through a phase where you felt worried or nervous about the unknowable? Like, Trinity, I just can't wrap my mind around this thing. God, it's 3 persons. And
yeah, when I was a kid, I wanted to know everything.
Yeah.
Humans are very curious. I think it's okay to want to know. I think God has gifted us this curiosity so that we can know him and can understand the things that he has revealed to us. But we also have to come to a point where we realize God is just so much bigger than we are. There is no way we could possibly, in this lifetime, understand some of these things. And it's okay to not know.
Yeah. I mean, you got a Bible degree. At some level, you're trying to figure it all out.
Yeah, that's the point, is that you want to know as much as you can know. But for me, I think I have a hard time, and I'll probably always have a hard time with election and free will going together at the same time.
Yeah, that's a lot of people struggle with that. They're like, wait, I don't get it. So God predestines us and yet we can choose? Uh-huh. Well, that's opposite. Right.
Yeah, and we're never going to know that. It's not ours to know. It's God's to know, and we'll never understand his mind.
And now for those who were joining us a little bit earlier, what I want to avoid, and I think a lot of people do as well, we don't want to sound like those young men from the Mormon church that came to my door that every answer was, I don't know. I just believe. How do we not sound naive while embracing God's incomprehensibility?
Some of that's not up to us. It's the listener who will assume that we're naive because they're so set in their ways that, and also they don't accept that there are things you can't know. They think if you apply your mind, you can know anything. And so they get to the point, where God, Howard, your thoughts are higher than mine and your way is higher than mine. They'll be like, that's just a cop-out. How do you know the love of God? It's breadth, the depth, the height that's too much to measure. That's a cop-out. So, the listener will decide some of that.
So we have to get over that part of it.
Right. And just understand Scripture says over and over, we can't completely understand God. But if we work with what we do have, the Scripture won't countermand itself.
I'm not certain I want a God that I can know everything about.
Why?
Because then I can just do it all myself.
Yeah.
I can learn and become knowledgeable in everything and just do it myself and save myself.
Wouldn't that make you God if we can know everything?
Yeah.
And I mean, at best, it makes God so small that you can put God into a box, which is so arrogant, right?
Yes.
And at worst, you're right. It's you turning yourself into, I got to figure it out. Which is why I get really nervous when I encounter believers who are convinced they've got every theological point figured out completely.
Yeah, and they're going to be unmoving on that.
Unmoving. There isn't any I'm holding on loosely to this particular concept because there's a measure at which God's incomprehensible and I don't know. Mm-hmm. And I grapple with a bunch of this spiritually. I think I've been through seasons where it's complicated, but I rest in, for some reason, that passage from Isaiah, the imagery of God putting his foot up on the earth. Mm-hmm. Really gets to me. And yet I think there's also those who are not believers, who don't even fully embrace the incomprehensibility of the world and of creation itself, but they don't realize it. They think they have it all figured out. But like, for example, we haven't totally figured out DNA yet after thousands of years.
Right.
One of the odd ones, if you look it up, acetaminophen, common pill I take all the time. How does that work? Doctors kind of shrug. They're like, I don't really know how that works, but it helps with
how
pain.
we know it does, though.
Right. Yeah. I mean, scientists have not quite figured out why it works. How is the universe expanding? How did it start? I mean, there's a level at which everyone has to acknowledge there's incomprehensible things, or we would have figured them out by now.
Yeah, no, as I was saying, as a kid, stuff like this would bother me and would keep me up at night. As I've gotten older, though, I take comfort in the fact there's things I can't know because I don't have to know them and I don't have to figure them out. I can let God just know and take care of it.
But I want to know, Daria. You've encountered people like this.
Yeah,
but I want to know how that works.
Yeah, and I think it's okay to want to know how things work, but you also have to come to a point where you just accept that there are things we can't know.
And the website Bible to Life from Moody Bible Institute actually has this great piece that talks about 3 ways to respond to God's incomprehensibility, because we've all been there in that season. You might be there now where you're like, I just want to get it. The Trinity, come on. I'm looking for the perfect metaphor. I know I can do it. Or you're worried about God's, about free will and predestination. I can figure this out. Let's go through these ways to respond and see if they can help here in just a minute.
Moody Radio is thankful for listeners and support from businesses like Duma Meats and Farm Market. Duma Meats and Farm Market, supporting Moody Radio in Cleveland and surrounding areas. More information about Duma Meats and Farm Market is at dumameats.com.
Hi, I'm Gary Chapman. Marriage is a beautiful journey, but let's be honest, it can be challenging and there's always room to grow. In my new book, A Simple Guide for a Better Marriage, I share stories and insights from my decades of counseling couples. Practical advice like navigating differences, managing in-laws, and strengthening your bond. So join me on the journey.
Get A Simple Guide for a Better Marriage by Gary Chapman today at moodybooks.org or wherever you buy books.
Before the 5 love languages, Dr. Gary Chapman was a Moody student, and he never forgot that. Each week here on Moody, Dr. Chapman joins Chris and Andrea Fabry for Building Relationships.
I'm hoping it will open up her heart to let me in.
Things can be different to make this marriage successful.
It's an hour of life-changing insight and realistic advice rooted in the Word of God.
Don't give up. See what happens.
Building Relationships, Saturday afternoons at 2 here on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
How would you talk to your teens about being safe online?
If you've got that relationship with your teenager that they know you are for them, they're going to listen to you in a certain way. But if they think like, okay, my parent is just completely against me, that's a different conversation. So, obviously it kind of depends on where you are. But I think being as honest as possible, showing them statistics. And it's funny, we talk about, more the predator stuff, and that is real.
Yeah.
But I think the greater danger is just what is pulling on your heart towards the things of God or the things of the world. I think having these honest conversations, asking them like what's important to you, like right now in this stage of your life, what's important to you? Okay, right now soccer is really important to you. Well, let's make sure you have enough time for practice. You want to make good grades because you want to go be able to choose a college. Okay, so you need time for your homework, and really help them see that, okay, this social media thing should be part of my life, but not all of my life, and give them the buy-in of what's good for me and like healthy in that way.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Jeremy Camp on WCRF at 6:52. God has many characteristics. One of them is he is incomprehensible. And this one can be a really frustrating thing. And I would venture to guess followers of Jesus at some point in their journey grapple with this idea that there's significant portions of God we just can't understand or know. And that's God's incomprehensibility. And yet I don't want to be seen as someone who's naive and just would believe anything. I think that's where a lot of people wrestle. So what do you do when you encounter something like Lauren brought up? Somehow predestination and free will work together. How? I don't have any idea.
Somehow they work together. So we're predestined, but we're also have free will to choose God. But also, if everyone's predestined, why then do we have to evangelize?
Talk amongst yourselves. Or pray for that matter.
Yeah.
Like even there's an incomprehensibility to if God knows all and is all powerful, why would he need to bother with us talking to him?
If he knows our thoughts.
Right.
There are a couple instances in the Bible where God appears to change his mind.
Yeah.
But we know that God doesn't change his mind. So those passages always strike a chord with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see almost in my mind a smoky room with corduroy sport coats and patches on the elbows and spectacles and, like, yes, well, he knew, but then he decided not to know. And then which is heresy, but, but people grapple with these things. They try to figure it out. And I think there's part of me that I can enjoy that in a safe environment. Like if I'm hanging out with friends I trust, I can talk about those things, but I don't want to get obsessed with it.
Well, I think it's a lovely thing to talk about the things of God with friends.
But how do you do that without delving into heresy? Like I've seen people do that with like open theism.
Yeah, there's one thing about like talking through problems and issues in your head and then you coming in here and spouting that it's true on the radio for many to hear. That's heretical.
Right.
Writing a book about it, preaching about it, that's heretical, and you stand on this is what's true. This is God does change his mind and whatever else you want to believe, and stating that it is true. That's different than working through the problem and asking the question.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so how do we know that we're in an environment where that's a safe thing to do?
Well, I think you have to know your friends.
As in, are they immature in their faith? Are they what? What are you looking for?
Is it a safe place for you to ask hard questions where you're not going to be judged? If you kind of go down a path for a few minutes, maybe even a few weeks of trying to figure out this problem of this, what you don't understand about God. I had a friend who did that. He would ask a lot of hard questions when we were at school together at Moody, and he got shunned a lot. And he was just trying to figure it out for himself. He was trying to work through the problems of God for himself. Problems in quotes, things we don't understand. Mm-hmm. And he got shunned a lot of the time because it was scary. Ooh, scary.
Yeah.
Those are scary theological thoughts. Well, he's not proclaiming them to be true. He's asking the question, for lack of a better term, playing devil's advocate to try to work out in his brain what is true.
And how is he going to learn what's not true if he's asking questions where the answer is objectively no, if he's not allowed to ask those and ponder those and get a cogent response?
Yeah, and if you talk it out, play it out, work through the problem out loud, then you're inviting the opportunity for someone who maybe does have it worked out to reply back to you and say, well, what about these things? Or what about this passage or this scripture reference or this story where he shows himself to be faithful? You're offering an opportunity for someone to teach you and show you different things you didn't know.
I'm fascinated by the fear. What do you think people are afraid of when someone is grappling with a very controversial topic? Like, for example, they're grappling with free will and predestination. Maybe they're leaning heavy towards free will at one moment.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that scary?
Because I think it then starts to break down everything we thought we knew about God.
I think we don't verbalize it. We don't have a name for it. But I think to an extent we have ideas of clean and unclean, like in Old Testament theology, where I think we worry that certain sins, certain theologies can rub off on us or taint us if we're too close to them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And if
like we can catch it. We can catch heresy like it's a cold.
Yes. Yeah, and a lot of us have heard of, the two sides, Calvinism versus Arminianism. Calvinism, it's a 5-point basis to hold up the truths of Calvinism, what they believe to be true. And if, for say, you didn't believe in the two of the five, or you were a little iffy on 2 of the 5, and you were really forward about that, particularly as a student at Moody, not necessarily faculty, there's room for nuance and differences. As students, you're learning, and so you're really strict about everything. If you didn't hold up all 5, you should just probably go to a different school.
Which is funny because I've met a number of Moody former presidents and current presidents, and a buddy of mine did a job interview years ago with the president, said, "Where are you on the 5 points?" And he said, "I'm about a 3.5."
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I thought was a hilarious answer. Now we're getting deep in the weeds here. So we're talking about predestination. Calvinists have this acronym, and they have 5 points of Calvinism, how they work that out. So, and I mean, at the end of the day, you don't have to know about that. The question for me becomes, when does that digging deep into predestination and free will become detrimental to one's following of Christ? When do you stop and go, okay, I've done that. I must rest in the incomprehensibility of God?
I think it's okay to wrestle for a while, but once you keep going around the same conversation, the same argument over and over again, and you find yourself not finding the answer, maybe there just isn't an answer that we know, and it's okay to not know.
So what do you do with the anxiety and the fear?
Oh, well, you give it back to God. It was his in the first place. It wasn't yours.
Yeah.
You were worrying about something you couldn't even know.
And that's where, to me, you almost need to rest in the attributes of God and the truth of the gospel. Like if you won't let yourself stop feeling angsty about not understanding something, you're putting way too much power in your own lap.
Yeah, if it's, changing your emotions, your day-to-day life, it's, you're ruminating on it over and over again, you've sought help and you can't get past it, then maybe it's just time to kind of let go. It was something not yours to worry about anyway, because it was never for you to know.
Yeah. Very good, Lauren. Quickly, the answers from Bible to life. How do you respond to God's incomprehensibility? One of them is humble acceptance. If you truly believe God essentially spoke the world into existence, I don't know about you, I don't get that. You have to at some point humbly accept that God is God and you are not.
Exactly.
Second, you have to respond in a way where it's like, the Bible does not exist to answer all of your questions. That's not why it's there. And if you're treating it that way, you have the whole thing backwards. The purpose of the scripture is to reveal the truth of Jesus Christ and the way to be saved. And so God told us all we need to know about that. And finally, the author says, be ready for more is how you respond to God's incomprehensibility, as in you're so fixated on the thing you can't know, you're missing on learning the things he gave you. And there's a lifetime of learning. You will never fully understand God because the stuff he gave us in scriptures, a lot of words, people grapple with their entire lives to understand. So you're missing out on knowing him more deeply by fixating on the thing he didn't want you to know about. And Lauren likes that. She's nodding.
Yeah.
And so is
That's
Ron.
good.
And Daria likes it. There's a smile. Everyone likes it. Okay. Perfect moment then. We've got news and today's Moron Moment and more coming up on WCRF Mornings with Brian.
Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland, WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, and everywhere with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
Headline News.
China is announcing retaliatory tariffs against U.S. goods, as much as 15% tariffs on some U.S. products. However, Fu Chong, China's envoy to the UN, said,
"We don't need to fight each other. We need to work together to fight against the common enemies like terrorism."
China is also launching an antitrust investigation into Google. El Salvador agreeing to house violent U.S. criminals that are deported and has agreed to take deportees of any nationality. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announcing a deal after meeting with El Salvador's president Monday. The El Salvadorians have agreed not only to take their own people back from the U.S., also any criminal illegal migrant of any nationality. The investigation continues into the crash of a medical transport jet in northeast Philadelphia that killed 7 people. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy at a Monday news conference.
If you look at the impact and how deep that crater is, it was a very steep angle at which that aircraft came down.
6 people on board killed, another on the ground also died. Saquon Barkley is engaged. The Eagles running back told People magazine he recently proposed to longtime girlfriend Anna Congdon. Barkley and the Eagles take on the Kansas City Chiefs this Sunday in Super Bowl 59. I'm Ryan Daniels. A lawsuit filed against the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has been dismissed. James Huntsman sued the church for $5 million in tithes, alleging fraud over the use of the funds for commercial purposes, despite promises to the contrary. The Desert News reports an appeals court upheld a 2021 ruling dismissing the case, stating, quote, "We as courts are not here to MC religious disputes," end quote. Huntsman had argued the church violated its own promises, but the court ruled that religious matters are not within its jurisdiction. I'm Ryan Daniels reporting.
It's 7:03 and news continues on Moody Radio Cleveland. I'm Ron Eastwood. East Cleveland Council President Latik Shabazz is arguing that he should be named the community's interim mayor. A panel of 3 retired judges suspended Mayor Brandon King from office last week in the wake of King's indictment on charges including theft in office. In sports, the Browns' Myles Garrett requested a trade yesterday. The 29-year-old said in a statement that he loved calling Cleveland his home, but he has a desire to win and compete on the biggest stages. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Mostly cloudy this morning, then becoming partly sunny. It's going to be much cooler today with highs only reaching in the upper 20s. And at last check, we had cloudy skies, 30 degrees in Cleveland, a light snow being reported in the Akron-Canton area, 30 degrees there as well. Lorraine, Elyria, cloudy and 31.
It's time for your moron moment.
Only 67% of 8th graders are reading at a basic level. That's the lowest since federal testing began in 1992. 4th graders are doing even worse at 60%. They were kindergartners when the pandemic hit in 2020. Probably not a coincidence. And that's your Moron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 7:05 with Moody Radio News. I'm Ron Eastwood.
A teens community is on Snapchat or on TikTok. And so how would you go about having both? I would want my child to have their community. I don't want them to feel left out. I want them to feel like they're connected. But also, there is so much harm in social media. How can we have both?
Honestly, when you give your child Instagram, Snapchat, whatever it is you're going to give them in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, whenever you're going to do that, does that automatically, magically make them so happy and so loved? I mean, it really, truly, if we're honest, it does the opposite, that all of a sudden now it opens up this whole world of oh my word, I thought I was good looking, but now I see a gazillion people who are better looking than me. Is that trait of drama and pain and constantly measuring themselves, is that pain worth?
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Moody Radio Cleveland. It's Tuesday. Heads up, we have our friend Robert Fenn of the Social Security Administration, loves Jesus, and he's the guy that understands Social Security. Like maybe the only one.
Right. Probably. For everyone who doesn't.
Yeah. And if you want your questions answered, he's going to be here to answer them from 8 to 9. So
maybe by the time I've been here, so I'm 31, I think. Can't remember if I'm 31 or 32.
Yeah, you've reached that age. Look at you. Yeah.
By the time I'm like 70, I'll understand after listening to Rob.
Or not.
Every month.
Yeah, I don't know.
You think I won't? Probably not.
He on purpose, I think sometimes he drifts into a word problem. And there's trains headed towards each other and at speeds, and you and I are just like, we're out.
Well, that's not understanding his job security for him.
I try writing it down and following along, and I just can't.
Yeah. But he helps you answer, let me tell you. So if you have those questions, because who wouldn't? It's like, yeah, right. We were talking about God's incomprehensibility. There's a measure at which Social Security is incomprehensible.
Yes, it is.
Intentionally so.
So you can get your questions answered by Rob. I won't play that analogy all the way out. No. So text in your questions now, 440-546-2255. Text in your questions, 440-546-2255. Got a new study in my hot little hands here about millennials and Gen Z. What are some of the stereotypes you guys have heard about Gen Z and millennials, which by the way, would be 18 to 42-year-olds?
It's quite a large swath there.
18 to 42. I laugh that millennials are in their 40s.
Yes, a lot of boomers think that millennials are still 12. So,
well, they think Gen Zers are still, 4, and we're quickly approaching 30.
Right. Boomer, you want to respond, Boomer?
It's part of it is the like what you're first taught when you first started hearing about, let's say, Gen X. The next generation became Gen X. And they were the me generation. It was all about them. They were going to stay at your house and eat your food for the rest of their lives. Well, they've grown up, but there's still a part of that in the back of your head. And then you get introduced to Gen Y, millennials, and you're like, all the stereotypes, they're playing video games in the basement, and they'll probably never get out of the beanbag chair eating Cheetos. Well, they grew up.
Here I am.
Yeah. And, so
it's almost like people need to mature before they can, do adult-like things.
Yeah. And I think it's unfair in a way to label stereotypes or label names on groups of people born at certain times, because not everybody fits that stereotype.
But there are trends.
Yeah.
But
it's changing.
I follow you.
So using names to make fun of people, which is, big business on TikTok, but it's not good in society.
Now, I think something my wife said the other day really rings true for, why some of us think that Gen Z is still like 4 years old. And as we're grappling with the idea that our oldest daughter is in boot camp, she's 19. She said, it really is true, Brian. The days are long, but the years are short.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I mean, Lauren, you're like, I'm in the longest days of my life here with toddlers.
Yeah, the other day felt really long. I literally thought that. And I was sitting on the couch, and my husband was cooking dinner because I was still ill. And I was like, are we really, I'm going to have to get up and, clean the dishes, and the kids are going to run around the kitchen while I'm cleaning the dishes, and we're going to go upstairs and do bath time. I feel like I just did this yesterday. It was just like, I'm doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah, and you're at a phase in life where you look at the clock and you go, wait, I thought it was bedtime. It's 2:30?
Yeah.
The days are so long, but the years really are short.
Yeah.
And so I think it's easy to kind of go, aha, we're laughing about avocado toast again a decade later. And millennials are now like grandparents or whatever. So anyway.
We can't afford eggs just like everybody.
So what would be some of the spiritual stereotypes you've heard tossed around about your generations? Because for those who don't know, we have 4 generations represented here. I'm barely an Xer. Ron's a boomer. Lauren's a millennial. And Daria is barely Gen Z. But we put her in there because she is. So what are the spiritual, about Christians who are millennials and Gen Z?
I think the stereotype with Gen Z is that we're not Christians.
What do you mean?
True.
We're just assumed to be the least spiritual. I take that back. We're spiritual, but not in a Christian sense. Like Gen Zers are very into the weirder side of yoga and manifestation, but we're not in church.
But and the Christian ones, people probably presume that Gen Z is like, well, they've tossed theology out the window.
Yeah, probably.
Lauren, what do people say about millennials spiritually?
I think that this kind of goes all around. Lazy.
Yeah.
Spiritually lazy, just in life. Lazy, don't really care to do anything. Yeah, I don't know.
You guys brought authenticity to Christian faith. I remember when that was all the rage.
Oh.
You guys were like, I'm just being authentic. And we're like, we don't tell people we sin. What are you doing? So there's a new study out about millennials and Gen Z and their views on pro-life issues. Scripture makes very clear the idea that we are made in God's image and have value from womb to tomb. No question. I mean, human life has deep value, right? Mm-hmm. So what do millennials and Gen Z in general think about something like abortion rights, right? I think on the surface, we'd presume what?
Like of Christian?
Yeah.
Or just of the generation as a whole?
Yeah, generation as a whole.
Not Christians.
Yeah, just millennials and Gen Z as a whole and abortion.
They would say that they are pro-abortion.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would venture to guess some people get so melodramatic, they're like basically saying, they like infanticide. That's what they like.
Mm-hmm.
So what's really the case? Well, we got a poll recently done that looks at 18 to 42-year-olds, millennials and Gen Z, about what they think of abortion. And we're going to get through some of these details together here right after a break.
Moody Radio is thankful for listeners and support from businesses like Duma Meats and Farm Market. Duma Meats and Farm Market, supporting Moody Radio in Cleveland and surrounding areas. More information about Duma Meats and Farm Market is at dumameats.com.
Set up your phone or other calendar for Walk Worthy, our annual men's conference on March 1st. Paul Cannings from Power Walk, Mike Frazier from Rejoicing in Truth, and Rodney Maiden from The Edifying Word will be speaking. And don't forget about the fellowship and worship music. We hope to see you again, or for the first time, at Canton Baptist Temple. Whether you want to come in person or via live stream, register at moodyconferences.com or text WALK to us at 440-546-2255.
Helping you take the next step in your walk with Jesus. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Is there an age that you would recommend for parents for waiting for your kids to get social media or screens? So I guess the two, social media and screens.
You know, Bill Gates waited till his kids were 14 to give a phone, and he kind of knew something about phones. Mm-hmm. And Steve Jobs, when he was asked, how do your kids like the iPad? You know, he's like, oh, I don't let my kids use the iPad. So, you know, we should kind of take clues from these people of like, why did you do that?
I think it was the founder of Pinterest, or like one of the creators.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, my kids don't have social media.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
Can you imagine?
I'm like, you created this and your kids don't have it.
Right?
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
WCRF, it is 7:20. Don't forget Walkworthy Men's Conference coming up in less than a month. Saturday, March 1st at Canton Baptist Temple. Guys, get your tickets. They're going more quickly than usual. I'd hate to have you left out. It's a lot of fun. Usually I say something funny unintentionally. I try to be funny and people kind of go like, and then I'll like accidentally step in something basically.
Yeah, you mean something embarrassing.
Yeah, That's worth the price of admission right there.
There you go.
But you also get a T-shirt. You hear from Pastor Rodney Maiden, Pastor Paul Cannings, Pastor Mike Frazier. There's a panel discussion. Get your tickets.
You mentioned T-shirt, and I was thinking the other day, if you're like me, you've got a bunch of T-shirts. Dig through your stack, grab out the Walkworthy shirt, and over the course of this next month, wear that shirt more often.
Yeah.
Try to just wear it if you're going out to the store or anything. Help raise awareness of Walkworthy. You know, somebody may ask you, hey, what's that about? But more likely than not, they're just going to be like, Walkworthy, I heard about that on the radio, and this guy's been. It must be good.
See? And then join us. Text WALK to 440-546-2255, 440-546-2255. So there was a study done recently that may run against the prevailing narrative about millennials and Gen Z in society today, especially when it comes to issues of life. So I think the prevailing wisdom would be that generally speaking, the general population of millennials and Gen Z would just be, they just are like, unfettered abortion is their goal in life and their presupposition. Well, let's look at what the data indicates. Polled 18 to 42-year-olds, 7 in 10 young voters in this age demographic, 7 in 10, support some limits on abortion. You're nodding yes, like you're not surprised by that.
No, I'm not surprised by
There's
that.
boomers that were like, what? 7 in 10 is a majority.
Mm-hmm.
And it's increasing. It went from 65% in the last survey to 67% now do support limits on abortion. How about this one? A majority of millennials and Gen Z respondents, 60%, believe that human rights begin in the womb.
How many? Can you say that again?
60.
Okay.
Believe that human rights begin in the womb.
Now that kind of surprises me.
Because of the stereotypes you've heard?
Right. I mean, even within my own generation, there have been so many people who are like, my body, my choice. And, you know, if it's in my body, it's my responsibility and it's got no rights outside of me.
Yeah.
So this seems, you know, I could be off base, but it seems like a dramatic shift to me.
This next one will get you too. So the biggest thing right now that we're going to see flying through the courts is chemical abortion pills being available not only over the counter, but you can just like cross state lines, buy them online, right?
Right, to bypass the states that are clamping down more.
And I think the operating wisdom would be, oh, millennials and Gen Z love this. They're sticking it to the man. Okay? Check this out. 9 in 10 respondents support measures to regulate the use of these pills, including mandatory ultrasounds, blood testing to protect fertility, and studies on the environmental impact of medical waste.
Now that surprises me. Just saying generic, some measures could be the tiniest little things, but ultrasound,
mandatory ultrasounds, blood testing. What they're saying is, let's make sure that these chemical abortions do not damage your long-term fertility.
Right.
They don't trust that that's not a risk. And so 9 out of 10 support measures to regulate it in this way.
The mandatory ultrasound, to me, I feel like there's a lot of people, a lot of young women who don't understand. You know, they buy into the blob of tissue argument about a baby. And so when they see the baby in the ultrasound and perhaps hear the heartbeat, they realize, oh, wow, this is not just a blob of tissue or an organ like my liver that I could have removed. Mm-hmm. This is a living person. I almost said living, breathing, but they're not really breathing at that point, but a living person. And it could change their mind about what they were thinking of doing.
And I think the real unique one in that list of 3 things, the mandatory ultrasounds, the fertility studies, environmental impact. They're concerned about what happens when you're consuming chemicals and then releasing them ultimately into the water supply.
Right.
Do we know what the impact is? Good question.
No, we don't.
So they care more about health and wellness than I think people would presume. Because the narrative is they're just, ready to be like the Spartans, an ancient Spartan, just throw babies off a cliff.
Well, I think the problem is that all the things that they care about, none of the list was, well, we don't want them to have abortions.
About other people.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. None of the reasons they listed is we don't support it because we don't want people to have abortions.
And they're also not, clearly in this question, worried about the philosophical question, theological question of when life begins.
What's the question again that gave all those answers?
The one I just gave?
Yeah.
It's about chemical abortion pills,
Mm-hmm.
like whether or not you can, you should be able to have access to this. 9 in 10 respondents support measures to regulate the use of these pills, which include mandatory ultrasounds, presumably prior to getting a prescription
Mm-hmm.
or whatever it is, blood testing to protect fertility, and environmental impact of medical waste.
But what I'm saying is that it's not they're mandating it because they don't want people to get abortions. They're mandating it because of medical waste and fertility issues later.
Okay. And what do you think that nuance does for us?
I think it continues the stereotype.
Tell me more.
Because they're not saying, I don't want people to have abortions. They're saying, I don't want there to be medical waste and I don't want fertility issues to be messed up down the line when someone does want a baby.
I see.
By their choice.
So the question isn't, do you support abortion or not?
Correct.
Right.
So I'm not sure that what they're saying is, oh, Gen Z and millennials are more pro-life than you thought. I don't think that question gets us that answer.
I would agree. But I think there's room for something in this. And I want to give you one more statistic and then we'll get there. So the next statistic is when it comes to abortion limits and the issue of fetal pain. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when surveyed, Gen Z and millennials, they said if a fetus could feel pain at 12 and a half weeks, they would support restrictions on abortion after 12 and a half weeks. If you convince them that that's the case.
Okay.
12 and a half. And 66% supported limits after 24 weeks. Now, all this to say, to your point, Lauren, nobody likes to hear the word compromise. We live in an era where compromise is a dirty word. But I think if one reexamines, if the goal is preserving human life, saving babies, right? Don't these statistics indicate there might be room for compromise that would save life without having to agree on abortion access and rights philosophically, even legally?
I would think so. I would rather save 10% of the babies than none at all. And so, work with what you have.
Because you could get regulation of the abortion pill as long as you didn't presume that someone has to agree with you that no one should have it because you can't have an abortion. But you could work together to restrict access to the pill if you can not force someone to agree with your philosophy, right? You go, yeah, okay, great. You're worried about having ultrasounds and environmental impact and fertility issues. We can go with that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go all the way with us, but we can go there.
Right.
What stops people from doing
you're
that?
saying I could be worried about medical waste and fertility issues down the road. And also, I don't want people to have abortions. Just because Jenny over here only gets 2 of those 3, we can still fight the cause together.
Correct.
She's 2/3 of where I'm at.
Right. One would just have to consent to the idea that we don't have to 100% agree with each other on why we're advocating for these restrictions.
Mm-hmm.
As long as we're advocating for restrictions.
For the same restriction. This is the wild thing, right? Same restrictions, different reasons.
But we have to be cautious if we're a hardliner, shall we say, and you're working with those more moderate. You can't try to sneak your hardline issues in and say, well, we all agree, so let's do all of what I think, because then you'll alienate them. You've done a bait and switch, and they won't trust you anymore.
Yeah. I just don't know. I mean, is that even a realistic proposition? That one could save more lives through compromise on the issue of life? Because it sounds like when you say life and compromise, there's no compromise. There's life or no life, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if people are ready to have that discussion. Because it becomes an ends justify the means, right? This is a Machiavellian thing. Can you say that if the ends is more lives saved of the unborn, the means is compromise? A lot of people can't do that.
But doesn't necessarily have to be compromise. You don't need to use that word. You can say we have, initiative A, we're going to work toward, and initiative B, we're going to work toward.
Right.
And we can't get a consensus on issue C, so we won't pursue that yet.
We're finding our common ground.
Right.
We're not compromising. We're finding common ground.
Exactly.
But you know how the world works today. If one person's common ground is the other person screaming at them on the internet that they've compromised.
Maybe it's like Ron is saying, maybe you work with someone who you're not 100% in agreement with to restrict access to abortion pills. If they're 2/3 of the way there on your agreement. So they say they don't want medical waste and they say they want to protect fertility down the road. You want those things too, but you also want to stop abortions. So you work with them to restrict access to abortion pills. But you can also do something on the other side to just totally restrict abortions.
When you're not working with them.
Yes.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
You can do two different things at the same time. You can restrict access to abortion pills with this person you agree with on a lot of things, not 100%, but a lot of things, and also do something else.
Right.
Like, working with your local pregnancy centers, going to your representatives, stating what your position is and why you think we should do this.
So why isn't this happening?
Because we're kind of an all or nothing kind of people. And so we're going to focus all of our time in one place instead of multiple places.
And it's funny how we compartmentalize that as well. Like, I've seen Christians work for the common good in their community when it comes to poverty.
Yeah.
They'll work with people who have different theology and different views of poverty.
Yeah.
Just because they're like, look, we both want to help the poor. So let's do it. Let's lock arms with Muslims or Jews or agnostics. For some reason, there's barriers to that.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. We can't fix it.
No.
But here's what I hope we can do. Ask questions that make people think. That's it. And then don't take our word for anything. Go search the scriptures. See how the Lord would guide you. And maybe you'll grow closer to Jesus at minimum. And hey, who knows? Maybe thinking deeply about things like this can actually save the unborn in some respects.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
My debt problem started probably about 2016. I needed my life to change financially. I called Trinity and I ended up joining based on high credit card bills and high interest rate. And my counselor at Trinity has been great, and Trinity has been helping me to get on the right path of paying off these credit card bills, bringing down the interest rate. They have consolidated my bills into one low monthly payment. And now I am finally getting out of credit card debt. So I just want to say thank you, Trinity, for showing me a better and greater path.
If you're in debt and you need help, call Trinity at 1-800-659-9838.
My name is Sharon, and soon I will be debt-free for keeps.
1-800-659-9838.
Helping you take the next step in your walk with Jesus. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio, Cleveland.
How would you
you talk to your teens about being safe online?
If you've got that relationship with your teenager that they know you are for them, they're going to listen to you in a certain way. But if they think like, okay, my parent is just completely against me, like that's a different conversation. So, you know, obviously it kind of depends on where you are, but I think being as honest as possible, showing them statistics. And it's funny, we talk about, you know, more the predator stuff, and that is real.
Yeah.
But I think the greater danger is just what is pulling on your heart towards the things of God or the things of the world. I think having these honest conversations, asking them like what's important to you, like right now in this stage of your life, what's important to you? Okay, right now soccer is really important to you. Well, let's make sure you have enough time for practice. You know, you want to make good grades because you want to go be able to choose a college. Okay, so you need time for your homework, and really help them see that, okay, this social media thing should be part of my life, but not all of my life, and give them the buy-in of what's good for me and like healthy in that way.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
$7:38 Moody Radio, WCRF. Get those walk-worthy men's conference tickets as before it's too late. Text WALK to 440-546-2255. To what extent are you guys competitive? Anyone ever called you, any of you, competitive?
No, not at all.
So you're that person. Yeah. I remember I would talk with Kathleen about this when Kathleen was on the air with me co-hosting.
But she seems pretty competitive.
Not at all.
No. Really?
She's the person that if she plays you in like a competitive game and you win, she'll congratulate you and cheer for you and be like, oh, look at you. That's so great. Good job.
Yeah.
Which I think comes from her improv background. It's important that the team succeed.
Yeah.
It's not about you. It's about the team.
You're not competitive either, are you, Ron?
Not so much. You know, high school, I played sports and I was competitive enough there. But it wasn't carried over to, like, I'm playing basketball against my son and I have to block it and jam it in his face and, stuff like that.
Me and my 4-year-old were playing the card game War.
Which inherently implies there should be a winner.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And he was on FaceTime with my parents later that day telling them about what he did. And he said something like, yeah, I was playing War with Mom and she kept winning, but next time I'm going to get her.
Atta guy. Atta boy. Yeah.
And my mom said, oh, that sounds a lot like your father. Because she knows. Yeah, she knows it's not me.
Eddie's competitive.
Yes, he is.
So how does he tolerate playing games with you?
Who wouldn't want to play games with me? I'm not being mean to you.
No, it's actually infuriating to play with someone who doesn't care when you care. Like it's maddening to play.
Well, he just likes me, so.
Like, see, for me, Sarah and I, we had friends who played board games at home a lot, just the two of them, and we're like, wow, that must be what good Christian couples do. Like, we need to do this. And she thinks faster than me, and I'm convinced she's smarter than me. If she were here, she'd be like, nah, it's not true. But she doesn't sound like that either, by the way. But she would effortlessly destroy me. I mean, we're like, oh, let's played chess. Nope. Destroyed Brian. Checkers? Nope. Destroyed
Well, for
Brian.
my husband, he's really good at games, and so I just can never beat him. So it's never really a problem.
Well, because he's playing games where you have to read a novel just to get the rules finished.
Yes,
And
exactly.
so no one can win that game unless you are an expert in it. I'm talking about like all these other strategy games. I lose and it drives me nuts. And she's like, she doesn't care. I just can't do it. It's a Brian problem. I get it. It's my problem. I understand.
Yeah, I don't care if I lose. It's fine.
Daria's competitive. You are.
Yeah, I can be a bit competitive. It depends on what it is, but I
Like
have so my husband and I like to play Mario Kart, and I get really really mad when he beats me.
That's a game.
I'm just at Mario Kart for the vibes. I'm not sure.
Oh no, I need to win.
Oh,
I'm not competitive about a lot of things, but Mario Kart will get me going.
we have that at my house, and the kids love to sit down, and a lot of them have inherited my problem. And there's a grin and a declaration of being a champion that I just see as my fault from my children. It's a problem.
I don't know. Not if it's like in fun.
A lot of some competitiveness isn't terrible.
No, it's not inherently bad, I don't think.
Tell me I'm okay. This is what we're doing
I
here.
can't tell you that.
But no, so there was this Christianity Today piece by a millennial guy, and he's got a competitive problem too. He said this: I'm what some people would call competitive. I hate losing more than I like winning. As I tell my 6-year-old son before his soccer games, have fun today, but remember, winning is more fun. He said his wife doesn't like that so much.
Can't say I blame her.
He said, I like striving for excellence and cultivating discipline. I want to be the best, out-train, out-work, out-compete at the competition. And he says it's actually a trend among his generation, for men in particular. And then he goes through this list of like people: David Goggins, Andrew Huberman, Ryan Pineda, Chris Crone, Andy Elliott, all these guys that are challenging men to get out there and you do your 75 hard challenge. And they're doing all
good
that.
Heavens.
They got to eat the best, be the best, look the
You have
best.
to read 2 hours a day, drink a gallon of water,
Yes.
work out 2 times a day for 45 minutes.
Yeah, and
that's 75 hard.
For these guys, it's not just physical things. It's like mental.
Yeah, it's mental.
One of them is
Do
like,
they have a job? It
That's
sounds
what
like
I
they're
asked.
Do they
all busy
sleep?
with everything else.
I know.
I guess one of them involves waking up at 4 a.m. to listen to a book on double speed.
My brain's not going at double speed at 4 a.m.
The only time I put a book on 1.5 speed is if I'm really trying to get through it. I'm like, I'm over the book now. Let's just get through this here.
Who would voluntarily wake up at 4 a.m.? Like, we have to, but I marvel at people that do it just for funsies.
Yeah.
And this is the thing in your generation, Lauren, is that there are, especially with young men, he says,
Trying to accomplish a bunch of stuff.
Get up and do it. You got to work at it, win it, whether it's intellectual or spiritual, whatever it is. But here's what he says. He says, I mostly like this trait that I have of being competitive. But in the life of faith, I also think that my drive to be the best can make me the spiritually worst.
Yeah, because it's not about Jesus, it's about what you're doing.
What do you mean?
If you're competitive in your faith, you're just trying to beat other people at being a Christian, which is not what it's about.
Or it can slip into works-based salvation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He goes on to say that Christianity calls us to a higher standard of grace, which has nothing to do with effort or striving. And I like how he puts holiness, he says, is a slow work. And when you are in spiritual formation, it's less about productivity and more about stillness. And so he talks about how much he struggles and how much he worries for his own generation about, and those who get into this stuff. And this is a very American ideal. Like, you want to be good in business, you got to get ahead. So you got to read this book, go to that conference, do this, do. And then you got to work out. You got to spiritually, if you take that and you apply it to your Christian faith, you're doing it upside down. It's wrong. And there's some people right now that are driving off the road because they are working at it, guys. Every day they do their quiet time. It's an hour. And they're doing their prayer exercises, and they're going to all the things. They're doing the stuff.
Okay, but what's your goal? And hasn't Jesus already done the finished work?
Well, yeah, but I want to know him more. I got to do more to know him more. And I'm not trying. I know works don't save me, Daria.
Okay, but what are you doing to rest? Not just for your mental and physical well-being, but your spirit needs rest too.
Rest is for the weak. I'm working at it, Daria. Daria, I'm doing a spiritual workout. Paul said, run the race. Come on, I'm running.
You need to work at being still and letting God move in there.
Yeah.
If you're just busying yourself and filling your time with things and doing things, you're never giving God a chance to speak to you in the stillness and the quiet places.
Yesterday, I sat on the couch without my phone with my cat, and I just sat there and stared at the wall for 30 minutes. I'm like, this is nice. I can't remember the last time I had just completely unstimulated time to myself.
And there's a significant number of people hearing you say that going, wow, you're unproductive.
Yeah, you can think that. I also ran 3 miles yesterday.
Got him.
Wow, Daria.
Told you I'm training for a 5K.
Yeah, she's almost there.
That's true.
That is a 5K.
Guys, I drove 45 miles yesterday, one way, and then back again. There and back again. It's a hobbit's tale.
Again.
I think this is one of the greatest challenges American Christians face. Is that we don't like this, and people get mad at me when I say it, but the American ideal of how to be runs contrary to the Christian ideal of how to be. Am I wrong?
I don't think so.
You can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps in your Christian faith?
Oh, no. No, you can't do it yourself. But you are called to, follow Paul as he follows Christ. If you're having trouble, you need to see it. So you're called to do things, but
you're also called to acknowledge you already lost.
Yeah.
In competition, you're the loser. Jesus won. Right? I mean, it's a really remedial way to say it, but it's true. And so this is the challenge I face because I'm a competitive person. And this is why it was so good for me to go through a spiritual formation program. Because I needed someone to force me into stillness. I needed someone to force me into the idea that I'm trying to tell myself that I'm doing good things for Jesus as if he needs me to do that for him. And as if I'm still able to convince myself I'm not trying to work out my own salvation. But at the end of the day, that's probably what I'm doing. I'm doing all the things so that God's pleased with me. No, that's not how it works.
Newsflash, you can't please God and yet he's already pleased with you because he loves you.
And for the competitive person, that's disorienting. But I'm telling you, spiritual maturity is not going to come through your hard work. It's going to come through your surrender. This is why I think the American church is facing such a challenge. But I think we can do it. It's just a matter of reframing things. I guess pray for millennial men, too. Poor guys. Doing the 75 what?
75 hard.
What is that?
You work out for 45 minutes twice a day. You drink a gallon of milk. You read for 2 hours.
Milk or water?
What did I say?
Milk.
I think it's water.
Could you imagine? Water.
That's a lot of milk, especially at these prices.
Water. And you read for 2 hours a day.
Aren't there rules
sleep
for
a certain amount of
eating clean or whatever?
Yeah, you eat. Yeah, you're not doing sugar.
You can't be married in the midst of that, can you?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. One of our friends did it. His wife is just that's what he's doing.
I had a friend who did it.
You really?
Yeah.
Successfully?
Yeah.
Did they win?
Well, it was just with themselves, so.
Well, but I mean, it's over now, right? And
you're allowed to do
they
things
did it
just for yourself.
I don't think I could ever do that.
Oh no.
Why?
I don't have enough time in the day.
Yeah, right. 2 45-minute workouts. You're not only is that exhausting, you're going to injure yourself.
One could be a more chill one, like a walk or something like that, but still. Ooh, no.
Yeah, I don't. Some people like that stuff. God bless them for it. I don't get it. And the one that I laugh at is no matter what happens, we're still going to hear the next news release, Bertha Johnson is now the oldest woman in the world. What's your secret? Diet Coke and smoking.
Right.
I've smoked a pack a day for 94 years, and I did it. And this other guy's doing the 75-hard challenge, and he's going to get cancer in a couple years.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I don't know what that is.
And so there is something to say about just relax. Get close to Jesus. You can work out too, but you're not going to work your way into the kingdom. That's just not how it works. 7:51 on WCRF.
An hour each day with Rob West on Faith and Finance Live. It's time well spent.
We're ready for you.
Hi, Rob. So I'm a newlywed. We're expecting our first child. I just wanted your opinion on what would you recommend?
At the intersection of faith and finance is true peace.
Looking at everything through the lens of Scripture and applying it to financial decision making.
Time well spent. Faith and Finance Live with Rob West every day at 4 on Moody Radio.
Moody Radio is on the air thanks to the support of listeners and Hawkins Sales. They've been serving our region's electrical industry for over 40 years. More information about Hawkins Sales is at hawkinssales.com.
If you're looking for a way to leave a legacy that will help many hear the gospel, consider including the Moody Bible Institute as a beneficiary within your will, trust, or other estate planning documents. This is a wonderful way to steward well and extend your partnership with Moody beyond your lifetime. To learn more about the benefits of remembering the Moody Bible Institute, Moody Radio, and your other favorite Christian ministries with the legacy gift, go to moodylegacy.org/moodybequest. That's moodylegacy.org/moodybequest.
Good morning, Cleveland. Thanks for choosing us to help you start your day. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
7:56 on Moody Radio. I got a list, guys, and then we're going to do something fun. We're going to give something away. But the list would be, statistics are in. We have the top 5 most streamed shows of the year.
Okay.
2024. Most streamed.
Interesting.
Of 2024. Okay.
Would it surprise?
2020 is gone. I can't think of
It
any
was so
shows
long
that
ago.
that were on.
So long ago. You're doing like a dad joke over there. It's like last year, Brian.
No, it feels like it was 5 years ago.
I suppose it does. 3 of the 5 are animated.
Shows.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Bluey.
We'll get to the list,
I knew it.
Lauren. Number 5, most streamed program on all of the things, NCIS.
Oh my! I didn't know people still watch that.
You know, Sarah and I watched it for a couple seasons, and they were like, wow, this is just like the same thing. And then we stopped, but it's still going. All the people left.
That's
All
the
new people, yeah.
original.
Can you even call it the same
NCIS?
show if
Yeah.
you've replaced every character?
I don't think so. Although, isn't Don Johnson still in it?
I don't know.
I would be if I
don't
were him. It's
watch
a
it.
paycheck. I mean, come on.
Right. And they've had 12 spinoffs or something?
Yes.
So
L.A.,
Australia, Sydney, or whatever.
Pikeville, Kentucky, you know,
Yeah.
all of them. Then we have number 4, most streamed program, Bob's Burgers.
Yeah.
Number 3, Family Guy.
Didn't know that was still happening.
It's not. I think people would just watch it.
I think they did. I saw somewhere they just came out with another season. I'm like, why is that? Why? Just for why?
Although the one good thing that I can say came out of that was that little meme of the guy going, Mom, Mommy, Mom,
Yeah.
Mom, Mom, Mom.
I was gonna say the good thing that came out of that was the guy Seth something who plays all the voices, Seth MacFarlane, came out with a Christmas album, and it's very good.
It's funny.
No, it's like a crooning album.
Interesting.
Oh, okay.
It's very good.
I thought he would have done it
Serious.
in the voices of Family Guy.
No.
It's like,
No.
Mommy, Mama, Merry Christmas.
No.
Mom. Okay, number 2, Grey's Anatomy, the show that never ends as well.
Yeah, because
Right.
it's 700 seasons long, so people are still streaming it.
I think it's been going since the 1940s, perhaps.
Yeah, I actually think it's like season 25 or something like that. And
Yeah.
same with NCIS, it's like none of the original characters. Literally, Grey, the Dr. Grey,
Meredith
she's
Grey.
not there anymore.
Yeah, go on.
So it's not Grey's Anatomy anymore.
So it's not her anatomy.
Yeah, how does that work?
Yeah,
Just
somebody
anatomy.
else has an
The
anatomy.
hospital's named after her, so it can still exist, I guess.
Wow.
I watched that with Dana for like 3 or 4 seasons.
Yeah, sure.
And I feel like that was forever ago.
Mm-hmm. It was.
It was.
It literally was. Sarah and
It
I did
was.
too, I think, right when we got married or something.
Yeah.
The number 1 streamed show of 2024, most streams,
Bluey.
Bluey.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, because they haven't been forced to, what is Bluey? Is he the British dog?
Australian.
He's an Australian dog.
He's an Australian. First of all, Bluey is a girl. Australian
Oh,
blue
sorry.
healer.
Which is, it
It's a
sounds
type
mystical.
of dog.
Yeah, that type
A
of dog.
blue
yeah.
healer dog. So it's about Bluey she's 6. She has a sister named Bingo, is 4, and their parents. And it's just what they do all day.
What are they doing?
Playing. And it's just like,
Crikey.
yeah,
Do they say that?
no.
What does it sound like? Give us a little flavor.
I can't.
You do accents better than anybody, Brian.
I know. I wish
But
I
they
could.
do have a lot of funny words that my child now uses. So.
And you
Right.
said when you were sick, it was all Bluey all the time.
Oh yeah, we're in a real Bluey phase.
You guys might have skipped
tipped
the scale, I should say.
Yeah, it was
with
us.
the
It was
streaming.
Just Trey.
It was just
What are some
Trey.
of the funny words he says? Because I've heard this is a thing now. Like kids are using Australian slang, little kids, because it's in Bluey.
Like going to the bathroom, they say going to the dunny.
Your kids say that.
And that's what Trey says.
That is so cute.
I thought it would have been he's going to the loo or something.
going to the
Right.
dunny.
That would be Peppa Pig.
That's Peppa. Right, I'm getting my animals crossed here.
The
The dunny.
dunny. Yeah, I don't know. He calls Eddie, my husband, something really funny, and I can't remember what it is.
But it's some sort of Australian
Yeah.
word for dad.
And yeah, and it's not dad. It's like a silly name. It's like a goofy nickname, but I can't remember what it is right off the top of my head.
Well, thank you, Lauren and Eddie Cuevas.
Yeah, not only that, but we listen to the songs all day long.
Oh no.
If it's not television time, the songs are on, and or it's Bluey Stories, which is like podcast form.
So it's a whole franchise.
Yeah,
You guys, we need to come up with
it's
this.
the TV show episodes in audio form. Oh, biscuits. Someone just texted us, oh, biscuits. Yes, my son does say, oh, biscuits.
And that's like
Like, oh, darn
Golly
it.
gee.
Oh, nuts.
Yeah, okay. Biscuits.
Yeah. Oh,
Wow.
you big grub. That's what he calls my husband.
You big grub. Is that term of endearment? Yeah, I think it is.
Kinda.
Oh, you big grub.
Yeah, he came up. We were upstairs. I was with the boys. Eddie was cleaning after dinner. My husband Eddie came up the stairs, and my 4-year-old Trey, he says, "Hey, you big grub."
How did Eddie respond to that?
I think just did silence.
Wow. Yeah, well, they did it. Most streamed show of the year.
Good for them.
You big grub.
Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland, WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, and everywhere with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland. Headline News.
China's Ministry of Commerce announcing Tuesday it would impose counter tariffs on U.S. products, including 15% on coal and liquid natural gas and 10% on American crude oil, agriculture machinery, and large cars. President Trump announcing tariffs on Mexico are being delayed for 1 month, following a conversation with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum early Monday.
We've agreed to talk and consider various other things.
It'll be a pivotal day for Trump nominees Tulsi Gabbard and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as the two face critical committee votes in their cabinet nominations on Tuesday. Gabbard nominated to become the new Director of National Intelligence. Kennedy, the new Health and Human Services Secretary. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is meeting with President Trump at the White House. Netanyahu is in D.C. as negotiations are expected to resume to extend the ongoing ceasefire in Gaza. President Trump is going to speak before the big game this Sunday. John Schaefer with the latest.
President Trump will give an interview to Fox News before the Super Bowl on Sunday. He will speak with anchor Brett Baer about his accomplishments since taking office and his plans for the first 100 days of his presidency. This will be Trump's first formal interview with a major network news anchor since his inauguration in January.
I'm Ryan Daniels. Jimmy Carter has won a posthumous Grammy Award. Carter nominated in the audiobook, narration, and storytelling recording category. This the fourth win for the late former president out of 10 nominations. Jason Carter, the late politician's grandson, accepted the award in his place. Carter won for Last Sunday in Plains, a centennial celebration, which features recordings of his last Sunday school lessons at his hometown church in Plains, Georgia. Carter recently died at the age of 100 after spending some time in hospice care. I'm Ryan Daniels reporting.
It's 8:04 and news continues on Moody Radio Cleveland. I'm Ron Eastwood. Cleveland is one of the best cities in the country for football fans. A new study out by financial website Wallet Hub puts the city in 24th place out of 250 cities compared by across the U.S. by a number of metrics. Pittsburgh tops that list as the best city for football fans. Congratulations. In sports, the Browns' Myles Garrett requested a trade yesterday. The 29-year-old said in a statement that he loved calling Cleveland his home, but he has a desire to win and compete on the highest stages. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Mostly cloudy this morning, then becoming partly sunny later, but still staying much cooler, with our highs in the upper 20s. At last check, cloudy skies, 31 degrees in Cleveland, 29 Akron and Canton, 29 in Ashtabula as well.
It's time for your moron moment.
Only 67% of 8th graders are reading at a basic level. That's the lowest since federal testing began in 1992. 4th graders are doing even worse at 60%. They were kindergartners when the pandemic hit in 2020. Probably not a coincidence. And that's your Moron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 8:05 with Moody Radio News. I'm Ron Eastwood.
Broadcasting live from the Bob Devine Studio, it's Mornings with Brian. Want to join the conversation? Call or text now at 440-546-2255. It's
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
$8:10 WCRF Mornings with Brian here on Moody Radio, and the time has arrived. We know you have questions about Social Security. Lauren and I are still working out one of the word problems Rob had last time.
Yeah. Wrote it down, look at it like once a week.
And he's like, show your work, show your work.
Yeah.
And we're like, I don't understand new math.
Yeah.
But he's here to answer your Social Security questions, but you can call or text right now with them, 440-546-2255. Robert Fenn, welcome back, my friend.
Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you?
Good. You sound good, brother. You always sound good, though. Shouldn't be surprised.
I hope so, Good morning to everyone.
So are you ready for all the questions, man?
Yeah, that's what I do.
And you do it well.
I try.
Baby girl.
The first question was, why do we call you baby girl?
Do you want to explain that, Rob?
Do I? No, I don't.
Brian, go ahead.
To explain it.
Please.
I don't totally understand the slang anymore. Like I knew it the day I had the paper in front of me. It's like something the kids are saying. Like it's somebody, he's really cool. He's handsome.
Yeah.
He's good looking. He's smart.
Yeah, it's someone you like.
You totally misinterpreted that. I have yet to meet one young person who is even saying the phrase for one, and then to change, I don't know, from a grown man to baby girl and still be considered cool? Nah.
It had a moment last year.
It had a moment. I don't know if it's still around.
And slang can be counterintuitive, my friend. Like things that are cool, I mean, logically, they're not cold.
Yeah.
They're actually pretty hot, you know? It's counterintuitive.
But this is not equivalent or synonym to Robert Fenn. Not at all.
You also occasionally refer to Lauren as Shaq. Do you want to
Correct.
explain that one? Shaquille O'Neal?
No, I said she has her, what's the phrase I use?
Cadence.
Cadence.
I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Was similar to Shaq. Yes.
And for those who don't know, you meant that to be nice.
I meant it to just give my observation.
It's neutral.
Who doesn't love Shaq? My God.
Yeah, he's tall.
Right.
He's funny. He trips and falls a lot on that show.
On that one show, yeah, they push him into the Christmas tree. So
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
Okay, we got that ironed out. Social Security questions, 440-546-2255.
Rob, we got a question together, so I'm going to try to simplify it, but you know what question I'm going to address with you. Husband and wife, they divorced after 23 to 25 years. Unfortunately, the wife has no information on her deceased ex-husband, only the name and social security number. She never had any tax records or employment records. She only remembers one place of employment, but it wasn't before the marriage or other years during the marriage. All of this information is needed to send to Social Security. Right now, she'll be getting $384 a month, but she doesn't know how to proceed to get her ex-husband's Social Security info for her to get that, hoping that it would be more.
Understood. Yes, thank you for sharing that, Lauren. And this individual reached out to me as well. There's a couple things I'm going to add to make sure I answer this question. For other listeners, one, I'll answer this part directly. When an individual files for Social Security benefits, one of the first questions that we ask is, have you ever been married or currently married? Now, of course, some people may say not today, but some people will say yes. And if they do, we start the process of looking to see if they're potentially eligible on their own or as a spouse. So in this case here, we're going to ask this individual to supply the individual's name that they were married to and the Social Security number, which she said she has. So that's great. We will then ask for a marriage certificate and a divorce decree. So if there's no other documents that she knows that she has or she doesn't remember something, that's okay. We'll guide her and get her through those steps so that way she's eligible for benefits. Now, I'm curious because you mentioned that she has a dollar amount, which means that she's receiving a benefit at this time, which means we would have already asked these questions. So I'm not quite sure what happened there, but I'll just go on the side that she's not receiving what she believes she's potentially eligible for. We can take care of her. She should contact us, 1-800-772-1213, 1-800-772-1213. They ask for an appointment for us to review to see if she's potentially eligible for a higher benefit on her spouse. Now, something else that was in that request, that question, I want to make sure I share this to others because it's important. And Moody Radio, the Brian Show, does a great job. And please forgive me, I'm forgetting the other host who comes in that speaks about
Lauren?
spousal abuse. No.
Oh,
Kathy
sorry.
Nagel.
No.
Kathy Nagel, yeah.
Yeah, it's spousal abuse, yes. And so there's something that I had the experience of individuals asking me, what about changing a Social Security number, especially in these cases for domestic violence? Yes, Social Security can review a change for a change of a Social Security number in the case of domestic violence.
Really? I didn't realize that. That's great, actually.
Yes, and we can do that. Now, let me just make sure, because normally what happens is, unfortunately, people will take one comment and then they'll just run off with it. I can get my number changed too because I got some bad orange juice in the refrigerator. What? Right. So whatever. We have to evaluate every single case to determine whether or not it can be done. But this is one that's a higher listing in terms of priority of where we could make that change. So I just want to make sure that if this individual is listening, they can contact us and we can make a application, submit an application on their for the ex-spouse's benefit, and then we can see if that needs to be done. In this case here, I think, if I recall, that the ex-spouse may have passed away.
Yes.
So we don't have to worry about that, but I just wanted to make sure I did address that part of it. So thank you for sharing that as well, Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
The man, the myth, the legend right here, Robert Fenn, Public Affairs Specialist with the Social Security Administration, ready to answer your questions. 440-546-2255.
Set up your phone or other calendar for Walkworthy, our annual men's conference on March 1st. Paul Cannings from Power Walk, Mike Frazier from Rejoicing in Truth, and Rodney Maiden from The Edifying Word will be speaking. And don't forget about the fellowship and worship music. We hope to see you again, or for the first time, at Canton Baptist Temple. Whether you want to come in person or via live stream, register at moodyconferences.com or text WALK to us at
440-546-2255. This February, join Today in the Word for an eye-opening devotional, The Truth About Temptation. We've all experienced the pull of the world and the flesh, and in this devotional study, you'll discover how you can recognize and respond to temptation with biblical wisdom. Devotional author Brad Bahrain invites you to learn from people in the Bible who resisted temptation. To join our study, go to todayintheword.com. Be empowered to live in victory over temptation. todayintheword.com.
Hey, friend. Thank you for listening to Moody. We'd like to share with you our website with much, much more of all things Moody. It has lots of extra content, information on our programs, and archived audio from anything you might have missed. Your support has made all this possible, and we would love for you to bookmark our website, Moody Radio, helping you take the next step with Jesus.
Find out more at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
I used to be a dancer.
I mean, if the floor was open, I was there.
He won't dance around your question, though. He'll get right to it. Robert Fenn. He's from the federal government, and he's here to help, to answer your Social Security questions. 440-546-2255. I asked Ron to play that because it's my favorite.
Yes.
You knew that.
I like it. I'm serious. I can feel my afro growing in right now.
I bet you can. That a guy. All right. So we got a lot of questions coming in. 440-546-2255.
Can you explain the Social Security Fairness Act in less than 2 minutes?
In less than 2 minutes?
Somebody
Correct.
wrote that. They actually wrote, they want to give you a time constraint.
They know you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll put it this way. Those who were eligible for a non-covered pension and they filed for Social Security benefits and their benefits were reduced will no longer be reduced. Those who are looking to file for Social Security benefits in the future and they also have the eligibility for a non-covered pension, they will not have to worry about a reduction in Social Security benefits. Go to our website, socialsecurity.gov, look at the top banner. You'll see the word windfall, government pension offset. Click on it. You'll receive the information. Done.
You did it in like 1 minute. Robert Fenn. Look at you. Nothing gets past you. Is that ironed out yet when that starts?
What's going to happen is they want the details. So they said 2 minutes. I gave them what they wanted.
They just said explain what it is. So you did it.
I did.
But I know they want to know when
starting?
it starts.
Yeah.
The payment changes.
Going back to technically on our side of it, our verbiage is December 2023, but payments go back to January 2024.
Yeah, but when do people start getting the changed amount in their paychecks or in their Social Security checks?
We do not know that information. I know that many people are, they have questions regards to it. And I am encouraging everyone simply to go to our website, socialsecurity.gov. At the top of the website, there's a banner, and in it says the windfall elimination provision. It's right there at the top of the screen. And then they can find out any updates that we have. It says information about the Social Security Fairness Act, what GPO is what it says. And they can go to that website. That's where we're going to keep all of our updates. And if I can give just a little bit of background behind it, because some people think, well, all you got to do is hit the enter button, and all of a sudden my bank account is filled with money.
Yeah.
It's not that simple.
That'd be nice.
Not at all. Yeah, exactly. I mean, because we have to figure out, one, just the payment of every individual, and that's a manual. It's not something that we just electronically do. We have to find out who's going to receive the money. What I'm doing is our agency is encouraging everyone, if you file for Social Security benefits prior, and then you receive the application of the windfall or the government pension offset to your record, as long as your address is up to date and your direct deposit information is up to date, you're good. You do not have to contact Social Security. So I encourage individuals, you can go to our website, socialsecurity.gov. This is a good opportunity to open a My Social Security account. Then you can change your address if you've moved since you last filed. If you have never received Social Security benefits and you are covered for a non-covered pension, then you still can set up an appointment, 1-800-772-1213, or go online. You can file an application, and then you will be able to submit that application, and then we can look to see how much you will receive. Now, let me make sure I don't separate. Some people say, well, if I start now, that means that I'll get the dollar amount that I should have gotten or want to receive going forward. No, every person, we're going to have to review the people in the past and review those in the future, because our system will have to ask that question: are you receiving a non-covered pension? And so the computer itself, when I hit the enter button, is not going to immediately start sending out that full amount that you were expecting. We still have to go through our systems, what have you. And then there's a conversation I don't want to go all into, but when Congress makes a decision, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden our computer system changes. Our computer is used to saying this person's eligible for a non-covered pension, therefore the check should be altered, modified, lowered, whatever offset, all that's there. That has to be removed. So it's not just, stroke of the pen, the world changes. But it'll come. It will come, and it will be backdated. And I'll just give a quick little example, and I'll get back off of this. I just know this is a hot topic for people.
Oh, yeah.
Let's say the Social Security check that a person wanted to receive was $1,000. And let's say that the windfall applied to them and it lowered their check to $800. So we've been paying them $800 for a whole year. So what's that? $9,600. So they get $9,600. Then when we get this all straightened out, they're going to say, oh, they should have been getting paid $1,000. So $200 times 12 months in a year, $2,400. Then they'll get a retro payment of the $2,400. So every month that they're not getting what they expected or wanted to receive, they will then receive that retroactively. So just sit tight. Hold on. We understand. But again, go to our website, socialsecurity.gov. Look at that banner. It says the information about the Social Security Fairness Act. Just stay up to date. Read that each day. Get yourself a cup of coffee. Turn on Moody Radio. Say, what are we going to do today, honey? We're going to check that banner for Social Security. That's my lovely spouse's voice. We're going to check Social Security's website. And you just read that, and then we'll give all the information there. I'm quite sure the other media avenues will start giving information out as well. But tune into Moody Radio. I'll come back, and as soon as I hear it, there's other avenues that I use as well. So we'll get the word out. So I understand, and I appreciate your patience.
All right, let's go to Shauna. Shauna, what's your question for Robert Fenn of the Social Security Administration?
Yes, hi. So my ex-husband died about 7 years ago, and when he died, we were divorced. He had a minor child at the time of his death. Am I eligible as ex-wife for Social Security benefits from him? And what if I don't remember his Social Security number?
Thank you. And I just want to make sure I'm clear, just because this is my world. So that's why I have to ask this question this way. I heard he has a minor child. Are you the mother of that minor child?
No. At the time when he passed away, the minor child was 15. And no, I'm not his mother.
Okay. All right. So that's the world that I live in. I have to make sure I ask those questions that way. So I'll go back leading to you. If you were married at least 10 years to the individual who passed away, you are potentially eligible as an ex-spouse. You can look to file at the age of 62 for yourself. Unless you have a disabling condition, you can file early as age 50 on their record. Now, there is a change in the law back in 2016 that says that at age 62, age 60, you can file as a widow on his record. So you can look to see if you're eligible for any monies in. We're still going to look at your work earnings. We're going to see at age 60 if you're eligible for, the Social Security benefit based upon your wages. Then at age 62, you can look to see if you're eligible for more money on your own or on their record. Now, part of your question was, what if you don't have the Social Security number? Then you can simply, when you contact us, 1-800-772-1213, and make that appointment, we can look that information up for you. More than likely, I know you remember his name, and you should, if you have his birthday, that's what's going to help us. We're going to need his full name and his date of birth, and then hopefully we can do the search to find it. Now, hopefully his name isn't John Smith or Smider Smith or what have you, something like that. But that's how we can look into finding that individual's name and number. And if you have any other documents, whether it's the marriage decree or any IRS documents, that will help us ensure that you are eligible for those benefits. So hopefully that helps you out.
All right. Thanks so much, Rob. 440-546-2255.
Why is this Social Security payment for a month a person dies required to be paid back?
For a month? Well, because Social Security benefits are paid. Now, there's a couple parts. One, widows' benefits are paid for that same month. We give them, and widows and widowers, benefits for that month. Social Security retirement benefits are for the prior month. When an individual files for Social Security benefits, let's say at the age of 62, you have to be 62 for the full month to be eligible for that payment. So if your birthday is, March 6th, you did turn 62 on March 6th, but you weren't 62 for the full month. So April will be the first month that you are 62 every day of the month. April's check is paid in May. So if someone passes away, they have to live through that full month to be eligible for that payment the next month. So unfortunately, if someone were to pass away on April 27th, and they didn't live through that whole month, so therefore May's check, they're not eligible for it. The check that was paid in the month of April And if that was not cashed, they're still eligible. That leads me to this topic. I just want to make sure someone else had asked me this question. If you are a family member of someone who passed away and there's money in that bank account and they were due, in this example, they were due those monies, the family can submit a form to Social Security, SSA 1724. Don't worry about that. We'll give you the form number and what have you. But then we can make sure that the surviving family members do receive those monies. If, going back to the first example, if someone passes away and the family members are told that the person who passed away was not eligible to receive that payment the next month, then we get notification through a variety of sources that the person passed away. But the Treasury Department also gets notification for that. So we at Social Security, we're obligated to mail a letter out to the family saying, we're sorry for the loss. And then we will say in that letter, please send back any monies that the person who passed away was not due. Treasury also receives this letter. What's my point? I don't want family members just to automatically think that they have to write out a check of X amount of dollars and send it back to us, because we also send it to the bank. And the bank is also going to send those monies back. I don't want two checks coming back to us when it should just be one. Now, we can get it back to the family and all that stuff, but I just wanted to make sure I gave a fuller picture for the family members who unfortunately suffer the loss of a loved one.
Very good. I understood that one. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. Thanks, Rob.
All right, go ahead. Put the chest up, Brian. Put that chest up. Make us think you're doing some push-ups.
Yeah, no, I can't fake that. It's 8:30, though. It's time for a quick break here on WCRF Mornings with Brian. Remember to get your Walk-Worthy Men's Conference tickets. Guys, the big event's less than a month away, Saturday, March 1st at Canton Baptist Temple. Pastor Paul Canning's of Power Walk Ministries coming to town from Texas to do some powerful preaching, because it's Power Walk Ministries. I mean, power. And then you've got Rodney Maiden from Providence Baptist Church, and you've got Mike Frazier from Canton Baptist Temple. We got a panel discussion. We got food. We got the whole kit and caboodle, the 9 yards, the whole shebang.
Whole hog.
The whole hog. Text WALK to 440-546-2255. Text the word WALK to 440-546-2255. Get your tickets before it's too late. And we'll be back. Still another half hour for your Social Security questions for Robert Fenn in just a minute.
Is there an age that you would recommend for parents for waiting for your kids to get social media or screens? So I guess the two, social media and screens.
Bill Gates waited till his kids were 14 to give a phone, and he kind of knew something about phones. Mm-hmm. And Steve Jobs, when he was asked, how do your kids like the iPad? He's like, oh, I don't let my kids use the iPad.
We'll make sure. These are great questions here. Great. Thank you for asking that. Great. These are some good questions. People have been listening and reading, and I like this. Great question. Thank you. Someone is doing some homework out there. I like that. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
You've arrived in life when Ron Eastwood's doing a mashup for you.
So nice.
Rob, you made it. Congratulations.
Right. It sounds funny hearing all that together. I also didn't know that I have a little country twang in my voice.
Well, you do. Nothing we can do about it.
It's a glass-shattering moment for you.
Yes. All right. Shaq and, I don't know, I'll be some Charlie Jack guy, whoever.
Where did you grow up, Rob?
Where did I grow up?
Yeah.
You mean hometown or state of Ohio? State of Ohio. I'm here, born and raised in Ohio.
I guess it's got a southern twang in your town.
Southern Ohio.
Yeah, it's part from Columbus.
L.A., Lower Akron. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. All right, 440-546-2255. Rob is with the Social Security Administration, ready to answer your questions.
Are there any taxes on Social Security that you have to claim?
Any taxes. Now, let me make sure I say this to everyone. When you hear the word taxes in the question, and when I receive it, immediately I want everyone's mind to think IRS. I don't want them to think this is Social Security. And because the check comes from Social Security, but the tax comes from IRS. So IRS, they are the governing body over taxes. Now, with that being said, what I do know, what I can say, one, always go back to irs.gov for the official information. They can let you know how that works. For Social Security benefits, if an individual receives Social Security payments, IRS will look at half amount they receive for the year. So if they receive $12,000 from Social Security, half of that $6,000, and then they will combine that into the additional income that they have, and then they'll add those things together, and they'll have what we call combined income. And if their combined income is underneath $25,000, then from my understanding that there aren't any additional Social Security, they won't be paying taxes on that Social Security income that they receive. If they are a couple, then they look at $34,000 or more. Then now they can tax if it's at over the $25,000 up to $34,000 as a single individual. They can tax up to 50%. If they're over $34,000 up to $44,000, they can tax up to 85% of that half that I mentioned, and that $6,000 in my example. If they're a couple and they're over $44,000, they can tax up to 85%. Up to. I'm not saying that they are. Remember, I don't work for IRS. I don't want anyone saying that guy on the radio said 80. No, he did not. No, he did not. He didn't say that. What I am saying to you is that you contact Social Security. If you need to have your Social Security check adjusted, we can take out taxes for the Social Security payments. We can take increments of 7, 10, 12, and 22% out of the Social Security check. We can do that. But IRS is the governing body that you want to refer to. Contact your CPA, your financial advisors, your wealth managers, whatever you want for you to. You can contact them, and then they can let you know whether or not your Social Security payment that you receive could be taxed.
My biggest takeaway from that is LA is actually not Los Angeles, Lauren.
Yeah, no.
Go figure, yeah.
We're reclaiming it.
Lower Akron. That might be the best thing I've heard all day.
Yeah.
All right. What's next?
I receive SSDI because of my work credits. I'm also payee for my son based on my work credits, so he receives SSI. Can I have any investments, and if so, what are the limits?
Let me clear up that question. The way that they worded, there's certain things that, I don't know, you've done a job for a period of time and it just, the hairs on your back and stand up. You're like, that's not exactly right. So let me make sure I say this. If the mother is receiving a benefit because of her work, in this case here, the payment is Social Security disability, then the child of that mother is also eligible for Social Security payments from mom's work record. Okay, so that makes this what we call an auxiliary payment. That child is getting a Social Security disability payment because of mom. The child themselves, they don't have a disability. They're in the household. Mom's taking care of the child, so that child has a benefit. That is not what SSI is. That's why I need to make sure I put that out. There's too much confusion out there, so I just need to make sure I clear that. Now, mom is asking, what's the word that she used, Lauren? And she said investments?
Yes. Can I have any investments? And if so, what are the limits?
Yeah, because I don't know what those investments she has. If she's saying that she's getting Social Security disability, and then she's going to have some other type of stocks and whatever investments, what have you, coming to her, that does not affect Social Security disability. For her, it does not affect any Social Security disability payments. If the child is receiving a check because of mom, it does not affect that child. Now, if mom, maybe she wasn't able to type it as clear as what we would like, and let's say that mom is getting Social Security disability, and let's say the child is getting SSI on their own condition, because of the child's condition, mom's additional income would affect that SSI payment for that child. Okay, so I'm going to make sure I'm clear on that. If the child's getting SSI, supplemental security income, because the child has a disabling condition, any additional income can affect the child if it's SSI. If the child's receiving a check and the child does not have a disabling condition and that check is coming because of mom's work, then it will not affect anyone. So I know I wanted to walk that a little slower for everyone to make sure.
For me, basically.
So the child doesn't have a disability, huh?
For me, you walked it slower, and I got it. I think I understand it.
You got it? Yeah. So
You're good at your job.
Make sure I separate that. I try. Lord knows I try.
440-546-2255. We're going to go to Patty in Louisville. Patty, what's your question for Robert Fenn?
Hello. It's really quite complex. It deals with the Social Security Fairness Act that President Biden just signed into effect, which I'm sure you're familiar with. I'm calling in terms of dealing with a mother who is 93, and she is a former educator. My father died very young at 53, and he paid into Social Security for those years. When my mother retired, she could not collect any of my father's Social Security. She had to choose between her pension and his. So obviously she took STRS. Since this new Social Security Fairness Act has been initiated, is it a possibility for her to collect some of my father's Social Security? And if so, what is the process that I need to follow?
Thank you for your question. So you can call on behalf of mother as well and set up the appointment, but or mom can do so as well. So you can call 1-800-772-1213 to set up an appointment. Now, to go into the details a little further for you, you were saying that mom was not eligible for a benefit because of her eligibility to STRS, State Teachers Retirement System. And what we did in that example here, we counted 2/3 of the pension amount she received from STRS. That 2/3 total offset the amount that she was eligible as a widow. So now they're not going to apply that 2/3 amount offset. So whatever she's eligible for as a widow, she can now receive that benefit. So again, you can call the 800 number to set up the appointment. Please note, this is something I said earlier. Let's say the appointment is on, February 16th. They take the application. It does not mean on February 16th, all of a sudden she's going to get the money. We still have to go through our system and in terms of making sure that the benefits are no longer going to be offset. So I just want to, calm the spirits out there a little bit for people to understand that it will come, but I'm not certain of the time and what have you. But yes, ma'am, you can make the appointment or mom can make the appointment, and then we can take the next steps from there.
Very good.
Okay, okay, that's good. So that number I call is not the local Social Security office where I'm at, correct?
You can call the local office. You're in Louisville, so that will be the Canton downtown Social Security office. You can call them and make that appointment. If you call the 1-800 number, they'll still ask what the zip code is. And Louisville, is that 44641? I think, but they will, yes, okay. So they'll still speak to you about that, and they will set up the appointment for the local office to call you back. So you can do that. And this is a good little segue. Everyone should know that you can go to our website, socialsecurity.gov, and at the bottom of the website where it says find an office, you can click on that link, and then you can just type in the zip code, and then it'll tell you which office is closest to you for you to set up an appointment. With that being said, you also can go to any office in the United States to file a claim. Now, I'm going to, because the individual's on the phone, calling in, I'm going to give you that phone number for the Canton office as well. So I just gave you 1-800-772-1213. That is the national number. The Canton number is 877-255-1509. 877-255-1509. And so that'll get you to the Canton office to make that appointment as well. Either one you can do. I just gave you both of those options.
Very good. Thanks, Patty. Hope you can get that all worked out. Again, Patty from Louisville. It's 8:42. We got lots of questions coming in for Robert Fenn of the Social Security Administration.
If I've been in jobs with OPERS and Social Security, if I retire from OPERS, do I have to apply for Social Security at the same time?
She said, which one was first?
OPERS. If I retire from OPERS, do I have to apply for Social Security at the same time?
Great. Thank you. So the answer directly, no, you do not. A person can file for Social Security first if they wish, and then later on file for OPERS. But the reality is most people are probably already working underneath a Ohio Public Employees Retirement System, OPRS, for those other people who are listening. What is OPRS? Has she got her TV show back again? No.
Oh, wow.
Ohio Public Employees Retirement System. So if an individual is working underneath that, more than likely those individuals have worked in there for several years, and that's where they'll get their pension first. And they can delay filing for their Social Security benefits. This is a good question because some people will understand and they're aware that if they take their Social Security early, when I say early, earlier than their full retirement age, for those who are born 1960 or later, their full retirement age should get a full benefit is age 67. So let's say someone is 62 and they're eligible for a PRS pension, and they're thinking, well, I wanted to wait so I can get the highest amount possible from Social Security. Because if you file at 62, the Social Security check will be around 75%. You want to try to get up to that full 100% by waiting to your full retirement age. So to answer the question again, a person does not have to apply until they're ready. All right. So they do not have to apply. They can receive that OPRS pension, and then when they're ready, they can contact by going to our website, socialsecurity.gov. That is the quickest and the easiest, secure way for you to file for your benefits. Go to our website, socialsecurity.gov. You will see the option there for retirement benefits or the word benefits. Click on it. It'll start the application process. Send the application to us electronically, and we can help you out from there.
I'm turning 46 here in a few weeks. I feel like I'm ready. What can I get?
Well, I like your enthusiasm.
Thank you.
You are ready. And I guess you're going back to those competitive juices already. Everybody else is getting mine. So why can't Brian get his, right?
That's right. I registered online. I've got my account set up.
Yes. I can see you. I can see Brian now. I'm having these images with his daughter going into the services. I'm seeing Brian in these camouflage pants.
That's right. I'm basically in the Army now because my daughter is.
Yes. The what do you call that, Ron? The stuff underneath the eyes.
Eye black.
Yes. He's ready. I'm coming into Social Security. I need my money.
Yeah, 46. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. No, you can't do it, Brian. I like the enthusiasm, like I said, but not until you're at least age 62 or disabled. Now, that's a little questionable about you sometimes, but I would say in terms of Social Security retirement age is age 62.
Yeah, does lazy count as for disability?
SSDI? No.
I don't think so. Okay, it's 8:45. We have a break up in front of us here, but we got more time for your questions for Robert Fenn of the Social Security Administration, 440-546-2255. Also, use that number to text the word WALK to get your tickets, not to Social Security, but to the Walk-Worthy Men's Conference. Yeah, no, we have no money to give out. We have to take your money for your ticket. Text WALK to 440-546-2255.
Ever wondered if there's a way for Christians to meet their healthcare costs affordably and efficiently? A biblical lifestyle alternative to traditional healthcare options? The answer is Christian Healthcare Ministries. They've enabled believers to live out their faith while embracing a voluntary health cost ministry for over 40 years. It all starts with a visit to chministries.org/Moody to see how CHM meets values and healthcare costs. Get more information and have your questions answered at chministries.org/Moody.
19. That's how many pairs of shoes the average American has in their closet. 1. That's how many pairs of shoes it takes to share health, education, opportunity, and the love of Christ to a child in need in the world. Buckner Shoes for Orphan Souls has been meeting this need, providing more than 5 million pairs of shoes to children in some of the most vulnerable communities in the world. That's over 5 million opportunities to put a smile on the face of a child and show the love of Christ to boys and girls living in desperate situations. Many times these shoes introduce families to Christ-centered programs, helping them to rise above poverty and achieve their God-given potential. You can make a difference now. Join Buckner Shoes for Orphan Souls in changing the lives of children across the world through the gift of shoes. I'm Rob West, inviting you to provide shoes today by visiting GiveShoesToday.org. That's GiveShoesToday.org.
Are you looking for candid conversation from a biblical perspective? You found it. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
We got lots of questions in line here for Robert Fenn, so she hasn't
flooded.
called a lightning round, but we're going to be efficient.
No, that's what I'm calling it.
Oh, you are?
Well, you didn't ask, but yeah.
I don't know if Rob can handle that. Can Rob handle that?
Sure, he sure can. Can my wife collect Social Security at 64 and a half, and I wait until 67, my full retirement age, and get my full retirement money, and she gets some benefits now that she's part-time? So could she retire early? He wait until 67, so he'll get his full, but she'll still get some benefits.
The answer is yes. I think part of the question, what they're saying is, can she start receiving hers first and then maybe make a switch onto his? I'm reading into it, but that's just from my experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll answer the question again. Yes, she can file 64 and a half. Yep, you can do that. And then he can wait to 67. Yes. We'll just look to see if she's eligible for a higher benefit on her own or his. And the thing is, they need to make sure they know that we're looking at half of what he's eligible for and what her full amount is. Of her full amount, even if she takes it 64 in 6 months, we're looking at her amount as if she is 67. And we're looking at 67 for her. If that amount is more than half of what he's eligible for, she's not going to get a higher check. She's going to receive her own benefit. So I just want to make sure I'm clear on that. But when she contacts us, going to our website, socialsecurity.gov, and she files for her benefits, we'll look into it for her. We'll let her know which one she's potentially eligible for, the higher payment.
All right, we'll go to the phones now. We've got William on the line. What's your question for Rob Fenn?
Hi, Rob. My question is this. Okay, real quick. Was married for 20 years. Divorced. I have since remarried. She has since remarried. Is she still eligible to draw off of my Social Security, me being 62? I have not filed for it yet, but is she still eligible to draw off of my Social Security?
William, is there a lady behind you standing, listening to this phone call, looking over your shoulder?
No,
I just
but
want to know.
If she lived in this state, she would.
I want to know what this Social Security guy has to say. You know, get on the phone right now when you call him. So to answer the question, the ex-spouse, is potentially eligible if she is also age 62. Both individuals have to at least be age 62. Okay? So, and you two had to have been married over 10 years. You said 20. So, yes, she's potentially eligible. Now, if she has remarried, the ex-spouse has remarried and still married to that person, in my example, I'm going to say to her second spouse, she's no longer eligible to file on your record. Now, if she is not married to the second person, you're 62, she's 62, she can potentially look to see if she can file on your record. Now, with that being said, for the person who's looking over your shoulder, it does not affect your check.
Yeah, that's the big part of that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I just wanted to create a little suspense there, for the streaming.
Well, because you both use different words. He said off of his, and you're saying on his record, which is different.
Yeah. It is, but I still understood what the gentleman was saying to me, so I don't want to mince words, not mince words, but I don't want to be too detailed. Yeah, I get his point. And so if she does file, his Social Security check is still going to stay the same amount. And most importantly, for the person behind him, it does not affect his second spouse's benefit. Okay? So neither one of those individuals are going to be affected if the ex-spouse files for a Social Security benefit. So hopefully that answers this question and the concerns, and you can breathe a little easier.
All right, there we go. We'll go to the next call. We've got Sheila on the line in Cleveland. Sheila, what's your question for Robert Fenn of the Social Security Administration?
Okay. How you doing?
Good.
I can't complain, won't complain.
Okay. I'm calling because, I was affected by the windfall, and the only thing that I was eligible to receive was Medicare. And because I think I was supposed to get $700 and some dollars, and so I'm paying $174 and I think 70 cents for the Medicare. So now that with this new thing, will they automatically now pay the $174 out of the $700 I was supposed to receive? Or
there you go. Beautiful question. Thank you for calling in and asking this question here. There's a couple of dynamics. What's my brother's name? Dave Yost. He also, he handles Medicare and what have you. I just want to make sure I say this. For those individuals who received a Social Security payment, and the Social Security payment was offset, or the windfall applied to them, and now in some cases, they received a bill from Medicare because the amount of the Social Security check did not cover all of the Medicare amount. Many individuals would receive a bill saying, quarterly or once a year, saying how much they were on Medicare. So now, to answer your question, ma'am, what's going to happen is they're going to go back over and they're going to recalculate to see how much your Social Security check is, because that part I don't know, but they'll figure it out, and I'll make up a number just for our conversation. Let's say that your Social Security check is $400. You have your Medicare, you said the $179, that's how much it's going to be. Then they'll pay the difference to you, the $300 some dollars. You'll get that Social Security check, and then you'll have the Medicare paid for. With that being said, I'm encouraging and telling everyone, continue to pay your Medicare bill. If you get it quarterly or you get it for the full year, still submit that money if it's due on that quarter basis until all of this is done. Because what would happen is once we get everything taken care of and we know how much you're due in cash, then the Medicare premium will be deducted from that cash payment. Until you get that notification about how much it's going to be and that they're deducting it, do not make your payments. I don't want anyone to miss out on that and go to the hospital and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't pay for my Medicare. I thought Social Security was going to do it because it's got this windfall. I got all this money coming to me. God is great. Slow down. Pump your brakes. Make sure you continue to pay your Medicare premiums. So again, ma'am, to answer your question, they'll work it all out. They'll deduct the Medicare premium out of the Social Security check. But until then, keep making your payment.
You got a lot of people hoping you guys wrap up your calculations pretty quick here.
Well, the number is 3 million individuals we have. Yeah, Ohio is the biggest state regards to the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset. And I think it's near 90,000 people we're looking at. Don't quote me on that number, but something like that. But percentage-wise, as an agency, okay, 3 million. It's a good number, but they can work it out. It's just that, Congress wrote the law, and President signed it. And all of a sudden they said, hey, you guys go over there, get it done. Oh, hey, you didn't tell us. We still have to get overtime, or if we don't have overtime, we still have a limited staff amount of people. So we have to be able to, readjust and allocate, people to certain areas. So it's not, I wish it was that easy. But
somebody wants me to ask you though, Rob. They want me to ask. Well, but what are you hearing? Like, is it going to be 2 months, 6 months, next week?
No, that's I can honestly say, hand on the Bible. Do I need to do that? I don't know, but they have not given us. The higher ups, they haven't told me. Hey, don't tell them it's going to be such and such time. No, everyone in our agency, from
you have no idea,
top to bottom. Everyone is saying, hey, we got to just work this out and figure it out. There's no secrecy behind this. This is that simple. There's no one in our agency who has told us, as my title is called Public Affairs Specialist, saying, hey, we got a time frame, wink, wink. No, not at all. And we know that there's a lot of work to do, and we want to make sure we pay. One of our mantras is, paying the right person the right amount of money at the right time. And that's what we want to do. So
I didn't even know you had a mantra. Look at you.
Yeah. I know we want to pay the right amount of money, the right person, whatever. And people want their money. I understand that. But I'm not going to be the person to get on this radio show and say, hey, it's going to be 2 months. I promise you, people will start calling 2 months. So it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
From Robert
But
Fenn.
I had to ask because someone's like, push him, Brian. Push him. Squeeze him. Put the squeeze on him. See if you can get the details because people are waiting on this, but we can't do
I'm
that.
like James Bond. I may have a hostage, and whatever the person is, I'm sitting there. I'm going to be free. I'm going to get out of this. You're not going to get anything out of me.
Torture doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Torture, yeah, it doesn't work.
Okay, we got about a minute. Do we have any questions that Rob can answer in 1 minute?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll be turning 65 in June, but I don't plan to retire until I'm 70. When should I actually apply?
In this case here, they say it's 65 in June. I would still encourage them to, if they're not working, file for their Medicare. They can go to our website, socialsecurity.gov. Medicare is the simplest application. Takes like 10 minutes. File for your Medicare benefits if they're not working. If they are still working, they don't have to apply for Medicare. They can wait to age 70. They can also go online, socialsecurity.gov at that time, or 1-800-772-1213. So they're A-OK. So they can apply 3 months before that they want those monies coming to them at the age of 70.
Again, Robert Fenn has been our guest. He joins us about once a month to answer your Social Security questions. He always says go to SSA.gov or to call that number he says every time, and I never listen properly.
1-800-772-1213.
Yep. And even if you're like 30, 31, 32, and you're not sure how old you are,
Don't know how old I
you
am.
can still go online and register for your online account, Lauren.
Yeah. We'll get to it.
I did it, Rob.
That's right. That's right. You did it. And I just want to make sure I say thank you to everyone. Great questions. I'm so honored to be able to have this opportunity to speak to everyone. So great questions. Thank you so much. Great job, Lauren. I don't get to talk to Daria as well, but hello, Daria. I'm still saying hello to you.
Hello.
And Ron. Yeah.
Oh, of course.
And now for all of us here at WCRF and all of our listeners, you go back to that office and you start cracking skulls, man. Tell them we need answers, buddy. We got people waiting on this.
They know it. Trust me.
All right. We're fighting over here. But we love you, Rob. We'll talk again soon.
Hey, Brian, my birthday. Got out of here.
Wait, was it today? Is it today?
Yep, we got to go.
It's Rob's birthday. Oh, my goodness.
Now we can apply for Social Security. Woo!
Oh. Are you 67 finally?
No, I am not.
Oh, 70. You're in. Full benefits for you.
Full retirement age.
You got to go, he says. All right, we'll have him back soon. Love that guy. And we fought for you. We know you're waiting on this stuff. We did the best we could. I'm not
Big
very
deals.
intimidating, though. That's the problem. Maybe next month we'll know.
Yeah.
All right, for now, we got to get out of here for JD Greer, but we'll see you tomorrow morning on a Wednesday.